In fact, welcome everybody who is watching on Twitch to Dungeons and Distancing. This is an online event that we are running as a convention, but as part of that, we are also running this live stream. My name is Ben. I'm from Melbourne Dungeon Master, and thank you so much for joining us on our live stream. We hope you enjoy coming along this adventure with us. Today we have a small group of excellent adventurers that will actually be continuing their journey from earlier in the year. So if you joined us at Arc Online 21 back in January, you will remember some of these faces, some of these adventurers, which we will meet momentarily. But first of all, let me just tell you that Dungeons and Distancing is an online convention that is brought to you by our ArcanaCon in partnership with Arkenforge. So let us not tarry much longer and jump straight into the game. This is going to be a 3-part campaign. We are playing every Sunday next week and the week after. Same time, 6 o'clock, so hope to see everybody there as well. But without further ado, let us jump into the Vault of the Living Flame. To briefly recap, the party began traveling north through a region of the Empire of Aurelia called the Winter Ranges. The Winter Ranges crown the northern edge of Aurelia and create a vast and treacherous barrier between the Empire and that which lies beyond. Exploration through the mountains is impeded by frozen cliffs, glacial valleys, black forests, and the merciless cold. Yet as hostile as the natural environment is, the Winter Ranges are also home to some of the most beautiful terrain in the known world. Fields of sapphire ice, frozen waterfalls, mountains shrouded in wintry fog, and glowing lights that dance across the night sky, waiting for those who search for them. Our party are travelling here on the behest of Juniper Longstride, who is a famous explorer who bardic verse has told stories of, and she is looking for the legendary vault of Velkund Fireblood, this ancient, hidden vault buried somewhere in the Winter Ranges, supposedly by an ancient frost giant who hoarded to him all this wealth before burying it in his vault, never to be seen or found again. There are different versions of this tale depending on who you ask. Some believe that Velkund buried the treasure and locked it in the vault deliberately to deny it to his enemies, and others say that those who killed Velkund buried his treasure and locked it in the vault, not to be tempted by riches themselves, as Velkund was. In their previous adventure, our party, as they travelled through the Winter Ranges, had found their path impeded. Before searching for the vault in earnest, they need to reach the village of Hillcult. Hillcult is very isolated. It is owned and run basically by Titans, also known as Goliaths. And the party are hoping to use this as a sort of staging ground, a home base to search the surrounding areas for the location of Velkund's vault. But before they could get there, they discovered that their path was blocked by a collapsed bridge just in the final stretch of their journey, and so had instead decided to attempt to climb over this massive mountain called the Sentinel, arriving at a watchtower at the very peak. The watchtower and the ruins below it appear to have been built by the Yothnar, the frost giants who ruled this realm before the Titans did, and indeed many of their ruins have carvings in them that also tell the story of Velkund Fireblood. The party in fact encountered one of these ancient giants, the age of it unknowable, but the fact that it still lived inside of the mountain, strange, and a unlikely circumstance. While it acted a bit irritable to find common folk within its realm, they were able to barter their way through the mountain and out the other side into the flats, the kind of wintry tundra that sits between the Sentinel and Hillcult. This flat is still a bit of a distance wide as well. It's about 2 days travel or maybe a day travel from the Sentinel to get to Hillcult, and the party at this point are running low on resources after traveling through the Winter Ranges for up to 2 weeks now, and need to reach the village desperately. It is sort of mid to late afternoon Darkness does threaten, and at night in the winter ranges, if you can't find shelter, there is a very real risk of freezing in the cold. As the party tarry along, making their way closer and closer to Hill Cult, who do you believe among you would be leading this little expedition? Who thinks that they would be at the front of the party as they push through the snow?
Probably Tacius.
Tacius? Yeah. What does Tacius look like?
All right, so Tacius is a brawny, masculine figure. He's wearing leathers and furs, mostly seal from what you can tell. The pieces of exposed skin that he does have is mostly scarred up, and he's got long flowing red curly hair that's been frazzled by the winds. He's looking a little bit worse for wear, a little bit grumpy, but he's still in pretty good spirits. He has a large greatsword strapped to his back, and he's sort of just like pushing ahead with a slight smile on his face.
Okay, cool. Undeterred by the conditions that Tacius finds themselves in. Is Tacius, what is Tacius's reason for coming on this expedition in the first place? Is he a friend of Juniper's, or is he perhaps in it just for the gold or the adventure?
He's met Juniper before, so he likes her, and when she offered this job, he was like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. He's very keen on protecting people, so that's sort of like his jam. If he can, he's kind of like a big dog. He likes to come along for the ride. He doesn't have a lot of smarts, but he's enthusiastic and he will do his best.
Sure, gotcha. Behind Tacius, who thinks that they would be pushing forward closely behind?
I just know straight away I'd be at the back. So
okay, cool. Selby's at the back. Let us pan the camera back to Selby, bringing up the rear. How far back would Selby be, and what does Selby look like?
So she's probably just a couple of, because she's shorter in stature than the rest of the party. She's probably just a couple of steps back, trying to step in everyone else's footprints to try and make it a little bit easier for her. She is looking definitely not as put together as she would like to. Her once put together outfit is looking, she's got an embroidered woolen coat and big oversized scarf, and everything is looking a little bit dirty and definitely far more worn than she would like. Mm-hmm. But she carries with her polished copper shield, and she has her mechanical squirrel sitting inside that shield. But on her face, when anyone looks at her, she tries and smiles to look positive, but inside, and as soon as anyone's not looking at her, she is looking uncomfortable, unpleasant, and like this is not at all what she thought she signed up for. She's here for knowledge and to try and, find the new invention and make her own name and her own legacy. And yeah, trudging through mountains and dealing with really gross, scary giants was not what she thought she was signing up for.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Just behind Tacius, I suppose, probably would be Juniper Longstride. Juniper is a halfling herself. She looks kind of like a bear cub when she has her hood pulled up because she wears a fairly heavy pelt. The image ruined by the pack she wears on her back, which is almost twice as tall as she is. She has a short bow strapped to the pack as well as a quiver on the other side. Although you guys know that Juniper, she can fire an arrow, she's relatively accurate, but she's not a soldier. While she's brave, she doesn't put herself at the center of danger if she doesn't have to. And that is why she has surrounded herself with such individuals as yourself to help make this expedition of hers possible. And then in the middle of this group, we have Dr. Weed and Iris. What does, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Dr. Weed, what do they look like as they traipse through the snow?
I did simplify the name a little, so I'm just Druid now.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm a large fur bulg with pale blue fur. The tiny bit that you can see is basically just on his face. The rest of him is also covered in animal furs and skins, each one a different type, all seem to be fairly arctic. So yeah, like a bit of wolf, bit of owl feather, a bit of seal, lots of different just mismatch. He's probably looking back over his shoulder and gesturing to Selby, being like, "Come, get back on my shoulders if you are struggling again. I told you it is no problem." And yeah, he's kind of just trudging along, probably telling a really boring story that no one's really listening to. But he's continuing on without really noticing that.
Okay, great. And then maybe just in front of Druid, as you turn back to Selby, is Iris. What does Iris look like?
Is shrouded in grey wrappings. You hope it's fabric. Her face is covered. She's got a cloak quite heavily down on her face. What skin you can see is quite dark grey and very scarred. And if she turns your way, you swear just for a second, you see a glint of red. She's got a long sword strapped to her side. She's carrying her shield, trying very hard to sort of push it into the wind so that it doesn't act as a sail, sending her backwards. And her face is just very stoic. She's just very like, let's get on and let's get this done.
Right. What is Iris's, and this may, again, all of these may or may not be things that you've shared with your fellow party members up to this point, but what is Iris's motivation for coming on this expedition? Are they acquainted with Juniper, or are they in it for the gold? Is it fairly mercenary or for the adventure?
She's just in it for the gold.
Okay, great. Juniper has also promised each of you 75 gold pieces just for getting her to Hill Cult as well. So maybe that thought, pushing Iris in particular, but some of the others forward as you push through the snow. As you do, Juniper, you can hear her behind you kind of crying out quite loudly, singing a song that she was taught. This song is about Velkind Fireblood. You have heard her recite it to herself repeatedly by the fireside, and it basically seems to be her way of mentally keeping herself strong at the hardest points of this adventure as she cries out, her voice carrying back towards the back of the column on the wind. So Tacius, you're probably only getting this very faintly, even though she's standing the closest to you. And you hear, I'll tell you a story of lands long forgotten, where giants once roamed. They were tall as the mountains. Their leader was Velkund, aflame were his eyes, and in conquest he led them to fortune and glory. His enemies pursued him, jealous of his power. His treasures denied them, locked up within his vault. And she kind of just goes back through that again a couple times to keep herself in the fight forward as the sun begins to droop. And there is definitely a howling breeze that cuts across the flat towards you. However, the party do spot Tacius first in the distance, the walls of Hill Cult rising up out of the ice, these monolithic sort of black line that almost takes up the horizon. The village isn't huge, but these walls are absolutely monolithic. As you get closer and closer, you can see the walls that encircle Hill Cult could not possibly have been built by the titans that now inhabit the village, just judging by the size of the slabs of stone that were put down to create this wall. The walls probably about 60 feet high, maybe even bigger than that, as you start to get closer and closer to it. And the slabs of stone, each of them, almost as big as a house or something like that, to be placed down. They don't look like they've been mortared, but they are almost frozen in place as snow drifts down, kind of catches on the side of it, painting a white pattern across the very dark stone. As you get closer, you can see that the gate in the city walls, which faces you southwards as you get closer to it, barely seems to be more than a break in the wall, a 60-foot sort of gap through which you are able to freely wander to enter the village. There's no guards or guard towers or anything like that. And in fact, as you get closer and closer, you note that there's kind of no one there to greet you. As you go between these walls, and it's kind of like, sailing beneath the Argonath from Lord of the Rings. It's just they rise up on either side of you, and almost it feels like the village swallows you as you walk into it. Hill Cult represented safety to you and your fellow explorers during your travels into the frozen north. And what you are met with instead is a silent village, half buried beneath a blizzard that has passed through. The first signs of danger, you spot the shocks of red blood staining the white snow. Frozen body parts emerge from beneath the snowbanks as if trying to scramble free from the grave. The silence that sits over the village is absolute, and a gloom creeps from the shadows as the sun edges towards the horizon behind the clouds, threatening to cover this tragedy in darkness. The inside of Hillcult is shaped like a crater, slowly declining towards its center. Each thatched-roofed building looks like it was built on the foundations of what was once a much larger stone building. You can see that there's staircases that are far too wide, low walls that are far too thick, broken pillars larger than trees, kind of scattered between all of the wooden houses. And at the very center of Hillcult, probably about a kilometre from where you're currently standing at the entrance, rises a squat citadel that appears to be the village's only original structure, judging by the fact that it's not a thatch-roofed little hut. Even it appears to have been patched back together before it had started to crumble anew once more, and you can see yellow lights blink in its narrow windows, suggesting it is occupied by living folk at this very moment. A distance from the citadel, but also towards the centre of Hillcult, rises a pillar of smoke from between a cluster of large thatched buildings. These look like they likely belong to campfires, rather than like a bonfire or a house being lit or anything like that. As the silence sweeps across the village as you walk into it, what is it that you would like to do?
Arceus's entire disposition is going to change from being sort of like happy and excited to see the village to suddenly very concerned, and he's going to try and be quiet and draw out his longsword and sort of like put out a hand to sort of like stop the rest of the party.
Great.
Mirror that on the other side, pull out her longsword and just get low down and scan the horizon.
Great.
Lean into Juni. Like, Juni, what is this? This is not good, surely.
You can hear next to you as you lean down a sort of tapping, and look down at Juniper and can see that she has her short bow out and an arrow nocked, and that tapping sound is the sound of the arrow against the bow as her hands have begun to shake as she looks around herself. You've seen similar sort of panic in Juniper before when you found the bridge collapse. She just seems to, when something unexpected happens, she needs to be surrounded by good people. And as she holds her bow there, she says, I'm not sure. We need supplies. We need to find shelter and supplies. That should be our next course of action.
Shall we start with the biggest building then?
The citadel at the center of town?
Oui.
If you think that is best, then yes. We can head that way.
Juniper, you've been here before, yeah?
A while ago. Some time ago, yes.
Was there some kind of general store or resupply place? Because we should try there first.
The Titans don't really work like that. They don't trade or use coin like we do, unless it's been introduced by the Empire. And she kind of is rubbing her head as if trying to remember swallows, and points out, and she says, the citadel is called Helgidian, the Obsidian Temple. It is a seat of government. And then she points across to where the campfires are coming from, and she says, that's possibly where the log hall is. It's not a tavern like you'd think, but a hearth. I remember a smithy there as well when I was last here. Those would be the two places to perhaps look in terms of a trading post or a supply depot.
Anything on the air smell-wise being carried?
Make a perception check for me. Okay, nice. As you kind of sniff the air, scanning around yourself, there's not a lot of smells. There is the smell of blood, obviously, that kind of comes to you. It's relatively fresh. Like, as you look at the ground, you can see the red shocks of blood. Like, this looks like it happened recently, probably even within the last day or two. In fact, that scent of blood comes to you quite strongly as you kind of see it all around you. You kind of get the faintest smell of maybe like fire or embers wafting from where those pillars of smoke are rising from, but it's just like the faintest. You're still quite a distance from it, so it's just like the faintest as the wind wafts it over towards you. Everything else smells kind of cold and empty. There's, the snow kind of masks a lot of the rich smells that you might expect in the wild or in a village as you come in. The area around you feels very quiet and very still.
Druid will cast Detect Magic.
Okay.
Using his racial feature.
Sure. There is nothing magical beyond what the party may be carrying on them close to you, not even on any of the bodies as you approach and look over, perhaps. What does it look like when you cast this spell? Are you seeing things? Are you kind of sensing them, or a tingle at the back of your mind when you detect something magical?
As a racial ability, he probably just kind of rubs his hand down over his face, and when his eyes open back up, they glow maybe pink or something like that, like a cat's eyes caught in light.
Sure.
With color in them.
Yeah.
He said, we have 10 minutes to see if there's any magical nefariousness happening here. I suggest we get to move on.
Sure. You don't detect anything magical stepping through the village generally. It looks, kind of maybe Tachyius, I'm not sure, you tell me, possibly Iris as well. Just from your character descriptions, I would imagine you two would be the ones most experienced with like a bandit raid or a goblin raid, or at least some sort of battle in that sense.
Absolutely, that was going to be my next question. Does it look like does it look like it's an attack by a lot of people, or is it some sort of animal attack? Like, what can we tell?
Make for me either an investigation or a survival or medicine. You could do any of those three checks. Let me know which one you choose, because it might slightly.
Survival, because that's my best one.
Okay.
14.
I have medicine, so I'll assist.
Okay, cool. Go with advantage then in that case.
For me?
Yes, yeah.
14 was the highest. The second roll was a 5.
Okay, great. As you begin to proceed through this village, looking around, again, nothing magical comes out to Druid immediately as you trek through, which is not surprising necessarily. Looking around, you can see, yes, this definitely looks like a battle happened here. It looks like it was relatively large scale, and in fact, everything kind of seems to be signs of like, a goblin raid, a hobgoblin raid, a bandit raid, the sort of things you might have seen before, but the things that are missing are like burned down houses and things like that. You can note just from the tracks in the snow that it looks like the villagers were definitely fleeing back away from where you guys are coming from at the entrance to the village. Although the tracks are pretty hard to gauge like specifics, just because a fresh layer of snow has kind of fallen over the village in the meantime to make it hard to sort of follow any one person anyway. It's just kind of grooves through the snow that tell you that they were moving away. You find mounds of bodies, not so much that they've been collected there, but it looks like they were attempting to create some sort of bottleneck or barricade, and then were overcome, and there are bodies that look like they were fleeing kind of further down. As you look at the injuries incurred by the individuals, they appear to be kind of like hacked apart by battle axe and sword and mace, spear. The thing that you maybe note as well that you don't spot arrow. You don't spot any arrows or anything like that would give you an indication of kind of what did this in terms of, is it a goblin arrow? Is it a whatever arrow? But you do also spot signs of like mauling, like animal attack, teeth bites, and looking like some of the bodies have had, been sort of momentarily consumed.
Do the hobgoblins or any other peoples use wargs or anything like that?
They're known to, yeah, for sure. Like, we'll use trained animals. You can't identify this animal specifically, and in fact, the bite marks kind of seem different on different people. So it is difficult to identify exactly what has done this. But the other thing is, like, hobgoblins, they don't dislike the cold especially, but they don't, it's pretty rare to find other people up here. Like, Hill Cult's meant to be a very isolated place. And so for a whole nother community big enough to raid the village and leave what appears to be virtually no survivors at this stage, it's just giving you a bad feeling. Animal maulings, kind of weapon wounds, but also, buildings aren't burnt down. There's something. It's like somebody, did a raid but forgot to do half the stuff you do in a raid.
Are the bodies we're seeing Titans or people?
Vast majority they are Titans, or Goliaths as they're also known. So they're considered to be common folk, kind of, related very much to furbolgs as well. Almost exclusively Titans. You do spot maybe a human, a dwarf here and there, although you suspect that is more a matter of the fact of the population of Hill Cult was by vast majority Titan.
I'm going to whisper, do you think the people who did this are still here? Maybe we should be careful.
Think we'd hear them, or smell them, or see them, but where are they?
There are fires up ahead.
Selby's just gonna just start walking after this. Kind of everyone's done a bit of it. Just start walking out to like wherever the first body is, and just like try and check. Are they definitely dead? Like beyond healing?
Make a medicine check for me.
It's not really her strength, but helping's her strength. 19.
Okay. You go up to the first body, the one that's probably like least submerged in the snow, bunched up in the side of a snowbank. Put a hand on it to gently try to rock them around to look at you, and as they fall and their head falls to face you, you can see almost with shock the side of their face kind of running down into their like shirt or furs that they were wearing is completely black. Like something has kind of spread from the side of them. You can see that crystals, kind of ice crystals, form all around the edges of that blackness. And you can see that their eye looks like it's frozen solid inside of their head on the side of the face where that blackness has occurred. And there are sort of like ridges almost in the blackened skin. When you look at it, you recognize it almost as frostbite, but frostbite occurs usually on the ends of extremities first, and not this weird localized patch of it. It definitely does not appear natural in the way that it has occurred.
Well, as soon as Selby rolls that over, she immediately like freaks out and drops it and goes back to everyone else, and is clearly not coping.
Peering over her shoulder and seeing this, does it remind us of the thing we fought in the tower?
Possibly, yeah. Not explicitly. What you think back to that nightmarish creature. It kind of this almost mockery of a bird. This massive kind of creature that has feathers and bones, very sinewy, stitched into it almost, and then the husk of a person almost fused with this great raven-like body, the skull of a wolf almost worn like a hood, but also, indiscernible what's part of the body and what's part of, is it a disguise or a single creature? You think back to the way that it attacked you guys, and it definitely, you think of the animal maulings, the animal teeth that you're finding in some of the bodies, and some of those teeth are pretty blunt. not dissimilar to humanoid bite marks. You don't remember that creature doing cold kind of, frost biting damage necessarily, but, visions of that creature definitely come into your mind as you look around this place.
As we make our way, wherever we make our way to next, Drew's gonna just keep an eye out, and he's wondering, does it look like these people attacked themselves?
Okay. Make an investigation check for me as you kind of, consider that question. Is it towards the citadel or towards the sort of campfires that the party wish to largely make their way? I wasn't 100% clear on that.
I got a 12, and I vote campfires.
I vote campfires as well.
Okay, great. You don't know, Drew, as you look around, what puzzles you, what frustrates you, is that these people, they don't look like they were fighting each other, but you don't know who they were fighting. You don't spot, kind of just gazing over the bodies, anything that looks like it's out of place, that it didn't belong in the village. It's as if whoever attacked suffered no casualties, or the bodies are here and they are indeed, they fought each other possibly, but just from the setup of the way the barricades are set up, there's usually bodies on one side of the barricade, not both, suggesting that they would have fought each other. So it's difficult to discern. You don't think they were fighting each other, though, at a guess. As you make your way towards the town square, as it turns out to be, where those fires are rising from, you can see, in what way are you approaching? Are you guys just walking as a group to investigate? Are you trying to be concealed? Are you rushing there?
Is stealthing as much as you can.
Oh, is Iris.
Okay. Separately from the group, or trying to kind of conceal the group as a whole, like telling everybody to stay back and shush and...
Tarkius is dumb. He's probably going ahead, but quietly.
Okay. Make Iris going as well?
I've cut myself off and I'm kind of skirting in the general direction, but away from the mass of people.
Gotcha. Okay. And then Selby, Juniper, and Druid staying together kind of as a group, bringing up sort of, 50 feet behind. 40 feet behind. Make stealth checks for me, Iris and Tacius.
It's a natural 20.
Nice.
Plus 3, so 23 for Tacius.
Great.
16 plus 2, so 18.
Okay, perfect. Cool. Don't mind me while I just quickly move some tokens around in the toolkit. As you approach the town square, you can see kind of separately, let's put Tacius a little bit towards the front. You can see that you are approaching what look like some pretty hastily thrown together barricades. They're really just wood, logs. They're not even really particularly pointed or anything like that. They're just piled in there to try and create some sort of barrier whatsoever. We have Iris here, who I'm assuming is maybe a little bit further south, having broken away from the main group, coming up behind a building, what looks like a little circular hut. That you could possibly move this way around as well to get to the other side of it, if you wanted to try to circumvent those barricades. But again, they'd be a little more than difficult terrain if you wanted to fight your way through them. And then with our little troop over here, there's our squirrel friend. I'll just make them invisible while we're waiting for them to make their cameo. The remainder of the group, you guys are maybe a little bit further back than where Tacius and Iris are as they approach. Iris, you can see, and I'm just going to grab your token and just give you a quick, brief look around at what you can see inside of the town square. And Iris, you would see this as well. Basically, there appears to be, a series of buildings that kind of surround this central area. You can see in the center, rising pretty high, it kind of goes like maybe 20, 25 feet tall, is a like obsidian-looking shard of stone. It's difficult to tell whether this thing was part of like a structure that is like broken apart. It's fairly rough in its construction or its make, whether it's natural, although you don't think it's natural because when you look at it, you can see that the sides of it are quite textured as if to suggest that somebody's carved something into it, but being completely black and you still being a distance away from it, you can't see what those carvings are necessarily. It kind of, juts out of the ground like the blade of a dagger that's kind of had the hilt broken off of it, and it points off in the western direction. You can't see sort of the ground where it contacts the ground just because these barricades are in the way. The both of you can also know that the smoke is rising. It only really appears to be a single pillar of smoke from this direction on the far side of that slab of obsidian, possibly from a campfire or a building. It looks like you'd probably actually be able to see the roof of the building as it is a slightly larger one, and out the central chimney rises that smoke towards the sky. What would you like to do?
So you said that the spikes in the ground, the hasty barricades, they're mostly just difficult terrain. They're still passable. Is that right?
Pretty much, yeah. If you wanted to just push your way through them. You've also got on the northern side, you would see this is just like a wooden frame. It looks like it's been here a lot longer, but basically you can walk under it as a way of also getting into this area.
Okay, Takius will do that then. He'll walk up, he'll duck under, and still stealthing into that area.
As you kind of duck in that inside area, you can see that there are a number of people around in here. There's close by, sitting on an old scaffold, and this is just so you can see, I'm not assuming you're running over there, what appears to be like an old woman who sits on the steps of this scaffold and looks like she's like nodding off as if she's like trying to stay awake, and then just nods off again. And you can see there's a bit of snow on her head and shoulders. She wears a little more than sort of rags, and her hood that she has pulled up, it's not like a deep, dark, mysterious I'm a rogue hood, but more so just like a I'm a villager cap, sort of that sits on her head. Her wrinkled face, she appears to be half-elven possibly, at a distance, maybe human, but just particularly aquiline. And then the other individual who catches your eye as you look around is this Titan who sits at the base of that obsidian shard on the ground, his legs crossed in front of him, his hands placed on his knees, facing upwards. And what's odd about him is that the frozen north, the winter ranges, is a freezing environment. I don't want to label that, stress that too much. But this guy's shirtless, and he has no shoes on either, and just sits there in the snow. He's definitely alive. You can see him sort of very slowly breathing in and out. He appears to be in meditation. You can see he's got tattoos as well that texture his arms, like almost full sleeves that go up to his shoulders. And he has some sort of tattoo on his chest and his lower abdomen as well. Fairly textured though. From where you're standing over here, you can't make out what they are specifically. They could be Titan cultural tattoos, or they might not be. Just before you jump into what you're going to do next, Iris, are you going to follow around the same direction, or do you want to try get a different way around?
I'm going to skirt around that building.
Yep.
And I'm putting my sword away now.
Okay. As you come out the other side of that building, kind of remaining close to it, you see the same Titan. He's basically directly north of where you are now, up here. But then as you look across the way, and again, just taking your token so you can get a look at it, you can see that where that smoke appears to be rising from is a log hall. The log hall is not huge. It probably doesn't have rooms for anybody to stay in, but you can see that there's a procession of villagers standing out the front of it in a line across the small bridge that kind of goes over a ditch to get to the front door, and they just are standing there in utter silence. You watch as one of them walks into the log hall, is out of sight for a few moments, and then turns around and you see them walking back out of the log hall and just sort of step off the side of the bridge, and the line shuffles up a little bit as the next person kind of goes in there. There's maybe even a few more villages than the map necessarily represents in that line. You can also see that there's despondent people kind of scattered around on the northern side, where your views may be a little bit obscured. You can see there appear to be people milling about as well, but the mood is very quiet. There's almost no conversation happening. It is, you guys didn't hear that there were even people here from half a street away, and indeed, as our other 3 party members walk up to this location, you are virtually unaware of anything that you're seeing except for maybe the top of the chimney and the top of the obsidian shard. What would you all like to do?
I'm very cautiously, I guess, go up behind our other friends that have, they've gone up. I'm going to try and whisper to Tacius, does it look safe? I could always send, nuts up if we need to try and... Is there someone to talk to, or do they look friendly?
Do they look friendly?
Make an insight check. Go with advantage, assuming that Selby's looking over your shoulder, kind of almost Scooby-Doo, the two of you looking around the corner into the area.
It's an 11 and a 2. So...
Okay. As the two of you look around the corner and try to decide whether they look friendly or not, friendly is not the word I would use, but they don't look threatening. Except for maybe that Titan. There is something a little bit odd about him. He sits kind of, passively on the ground, but not meekly. He sits, upright, his chest pushed forward. He's got extremely good posture, his eyes closed. He looks kind of interesting compared to everybody else. But everybody else, friendly is not the right word. They're not exactly a bustling village, but they don't look threatening, really. They just look despondent and kind of quiet and cold.
The thing I'm going to note, and I'll say this to Selby, is it seems really weird to me that there's no guards around the perimeter, given the state of the town.
Which just means a thing of numbers. Maybe they might not have enough left.
Perhaps. But even then, you'd expect 1 or 2.
Shall I talk to the Titan? Maybe I can find out what happened.
Sure. Maybe take some kind of offering with you. I find sometimes if you greet people with a gift, they tends to be like a social contract that it's harder to be, rude if you give someone, thrust upon them a gift.
I have no more mistletoe to cast good berry.
I will then make up, using a couple of my alchemist vials, I'm going to use my magical tinkering, and I'm going to make like a little vial that turns into one of those, I don't know what the fantasy could, like a hand warmer. You know those things you can buy and you put them in your pocket and they're like you snap and they go off. But like a little alchemical vial that like when you shake it, it warms up, and I give that to Drew to be like, just try and give them that, maybe.
So Drew walks out.
Hang on, I put a ribbon around it as well. Now it's a gift.
It's like the idea of you quickly MacGyvering something and we hear like glug 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 glug. You hear like drill sounds for some reason, and yeah, exactly. Here you go.
Yeah.
So in Giant, I call out to the Titan. Say, "Good day, mate. What's going on here then?"
Iris, are you going to... I'll jump to that in a second. You've seen all this, but are you going to... Do you wish to proceed somewhere?
Closer to the log hut?
Yep, the log hall.
Yeah, and just see if I can look inside to see why they're going inside without being spotted.
Okay, make another stealth check for me.
19.
Okay. As you approach up, you kind of moving between the buildings and around the outside of the town square rather than through the middle of it. None of these villagers, as they walk away with what looks like kind of little steaming bowls and they find somewhere to sit down with it, do they notice you? In fact, you start to suspect you don't need to be as stealthy as you're being almost to be able to get by without being noticed. They just are very eyes on the ground or eyes on their food. That gentleman who just sat down does so and then just continues to look at his bowl for quite a while, like just doesn't start eating it. As you get up to peer inside one of the windows that looks inside of the log hall, basically what you see inside is a fairly cozy space by comparison. It looks relatively untouched, although snow has been blown in from the open door. You can see 2 fires are going beneath bubbling pots. And as the villagers file in, still kind of one at a time, and approach, a large, tall human, but very beardy, kind of wild looking a little bit, like a tavern owner to the hilt in terms of like, he's quite muscly and quite bulky in his shoulders and biceps, but he skipped gut day and he's got like a little bit of an overhang beneath his apron or above his apron as he silently picks up a bowl, spoons some what looks like maybe it's a soup or a curry to be kind, but most probably it's like a gruel, hands it to the next person. They take it without even really saying anything. Maybe there's a look between them and like a nod, like a thank you, you're welcome. And then he just looks away. That person files out, goes and finds somewhere to sit, and the next person begins to file in, and it just basically has a real soup kitchen vibe to it. Do you wish to do anything from here?
I'm just going to try and reconvene with the rest of the crew.
Okay, no stress. Taking the long way around or just walking out there?
Well, if no one's noticing me, I'm just going to walk.
Yeah, no stress. As you decide to just step into the center, people see you. No one does anything about it. They just kind of like, look out of the corner of their eye and then look back down at their soup bowl or their gruel. By the time you get back over there, Druid is already in conversation with this Titan who stands himself up, and you note...
Probably be about 15 feet behind Drew.
Sure, yeah,
and
no
I
stress.
would have dropped my greatsword into more of a relaxed position. I haven't put it away, but it's not threatening.
Out. Gotcha. Yeah, no problem. What about Selby? Would you still be further back, or do you want to move up?
No, I'll be up behind Tack, please. I would have just, kind of
No
that,
problem.
behind the thigh type, just...
Really, it really is like you and Juniper are Merry and Pippin, in this party of big fighters and confident people.
Yeah.
As you approach Druid, this Titan stands up, as I say. You get a closer look at him. You can see the tattoos that run up his arms are fashioned in the shape of fire, which starts on the back of his hands and goes right up to his shoulders. The tattoo on his midsection around his abdomen looks like a coiling sort of serpent with vague draconic elements to it. And then the serpent finally goes up his back, comes over his shoulder, and the head of it rests on his pec. He stands up and looks at you, and the other thing that might take you by slight surprise is that when he looks at you, his eyes are bright orange. Titans typically have eyes that are like chiprock black or sky blue or marble white. They're like paint colors at Bunnings. They've all got something attached to them. This guy, blazing orange. They're not like magical per se. They're not glowing, but they're just definitely not the color that a Titan's eyes usually would be. And it gives him this strange kind of aspect of looking like he's staring, even though he's not. The other thing is that when he steps forward to say hello to you, you can see that as he steps through the snow in his bare feet, the snow melts and leaves like a little foot-shaped puddle as he comes forward. And he says in Giant back to you, "Well met, friend. I am Lorgi."
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. He's just saying his name. "I am Lorgi. What can I call you?"
My mates call me Drew. no need to stand up, and I use mold earth to create myself a seat, which I sit on.
Okay,
And then
cool.
I create a bonfire next to us, and then I create mold earth in a little semicircle around the bonfire for everyone to come and sit.
Cool.
So
Nice.
that's some very interesting eyes and tattoos you got there, mate.
So I am told.
Should I say Velkund?
He looks at you, sort of like, you know, a half smile, touches his face. He goes, "Not the first time I've heard that joke. My name is Logie, as I have said, but you look like you've just arrived. You don't look disheveled enough to have been here the last few days. And you have come seeking the vault of Velkund Fireblood. Is that correct?" As he kind of looks over your shoulder at your companions.
We come seeking many things.
Is that so? Please, do
Ooh,
tell me.
I fall over as a large amount of... Oh no, it's under me now.
Yeah, it's your earthen rock seat that you were creating around your bonfire.
I kind of gesture for everyone else to come and join. I'm running out of things to say in Giant.
Cool. What does the rest of the party wish to do?
Takius will go over and sit. But he still has his sword drawn.
Okay,
He's not going to put it
cool.
away just yet.
Cool.
Probably awkwardly sits. Like, has to do that awkward half climb. Like,
Sure.
everything's just a smidge too big.
The mold earth that you're sitting on just like shrinks a little.
Oh, amazing. Thanks.
Iris, are you coming over, or do you want to go elsewhere?
I will, but I'll stand behind, in between two of the mold earth.
Up here?
Yeah. And I've got my back to the fire. I've just kind of like turned away so that, you know, my face isn't isn't getting caught by the light.
Gotcha. This guy, you know, again gestures to all of you and says, "Velkund's vault, am I correct? Is that why you have found yourselves in Hikalt?"
I
Yeah.
think that is maybe something we can discuss after you tell us what is with the condition of the rest of the village and the corpses strewn everywhere.
He looks around, looks at the other survivors, kind of, who are, you know, listlessly walking around. He says, "We were attacked in the night before last. A blizzard fell upon the village, and out of the mist walked assailants. I'm not one for fairy tales, as you appear to be, Drew. But the talk going around the town is that we were attacked by Draugr. Those that have wandered off into the winter ranges and died of thirst, starvation, frozen to death, or were just found wandering. They came in the night, under the cover of a blizzard, as I mentioned, and cut down everyone they could find. They broke into homes and houses and attacked. They dragged people out into the street. It was chaos. I was not far from here when it happened. I fought these creatures as best I could, but they numbered in their 100. I was fortunate enough to be saved and sheltered in the log hall. The man who runs it, his name is Hrothnir. He has a food cellar, where a couple of us were able to survive the night. Unfortunately, the Draugr have left these people alive to starve to death in the aftermath. We were running low on supplies. Much was destroyed during the battle. Our livestock was killed. And now all that is left, in terms of fresh water, lies beneath Helgidion, the Obsidian Temple at the center of the village. And we have no access to it currently.
What blocks your access?
Kror the Unbroken, a titan who ruled a clan here in the village before the attack. He's now named himself king. But Kror is a... what do you call it? Successionist? He wishes to withdraw from the Empire. He does not believe that Hillcult belongs to anyone but the Titans. In fact, he has been told that the attack of the Draugr, these mythical creatures, walked out of the blizzard sent by the gods to cleanse Hillcult. And so now he refuses food or fresh water to anybody who is not a Titan, and they have found themselves here instead.
Does this Kror have many followers?
8 or 9, I believe. Possibly more, 12. I haven't counted them myself head to head. They would have been the Titans that were at the Obsidian Temple when the attack happened. They locked themselves inside and were able to weather the storm that way. They believe that the walls of the building kept them safe. That it was the god's will.
And who are you when you're not helping these folk here? What was your position before the town fell?
I have no position here. I grew up in Hillcult, but many, many years ago. I have returned some time ago, and people turned to me as a leader, a counterbalance to Kror. I have no official power, no clan that follows me. And so I simply sit and wait, choosing to live in this place where my forebears grew as well.
Wow. That sounds horrifying. I'm just going to say it. This all sounds... We were just meant to be coming here to find some treasure for our friend Juniper here. And... I mean, do you need help? I mean, we're here to help, quite frankly, at this stage, because we're also short on supplies ourselves. So, you know, potentially we could come up with some kind of alignment or... Yeah, I think could I do like a history check to see if in the books I've read before, if I've read stories about Kror or about Drago?
Yes, you can make a history check, absolutely.
Sweet.
Oh, can I assist because I have religion?
Yes, absolutely, you can.
Ooh, that's a 7. Ooh, 7 twice plus 5, 12.
Okay. Between the two of you, in terms of like a history check about like Kror and that sort of thing, like Kror seems to be a local individual. He doesn't seem to have any fame beyond Hillcult, so you haven't heard of him personally. There's no books that have been written about him. The Obsidian Temple, Helgideon, the citadel at the center of town, which you guys traveled away from to come here, you know that it... or at least you're not surprised to hear from Logi that it holds some sort of, you know, cultural significance to the Titans. They believe themselves descended from the Yothnar, from the Frost Giants, and that, you know, everything that the Frost Giants built, presumably this village, that tower, you know, this obelisk that kind of rises behind Logi, is their birthright. And that they are kind of, you know, their attitude towards the Empire in the best kind of sense is this melting pot of multiple races, and it's multicultural, and they share their inventions and their art and their ideas and their, you know, philosophies. But in the worst kind of sense to outsiders, it kind of seems like it is, you know, assimilating and all-encompassing and kind of, you know, appropriates other cultures and kind of, you know, pulls them apart and forces them to become like the rest of the Empire in some capacity. And so Titans have been known to be quite reluctant to that. They have the advantage of living in the Winter Ranges, which makes this kind of geographical limitation for the Empire to be able to move in on their territory. But, you know, common folk still find their way up here. You guys are here and all these other villages. You note that, like, no one else except for Logi standing in front of you is a Titan standing in this town square. They're all of another race, dwarf, human, etc. So you're kind of not surprised to hear that a Titan is taking this attitude of like, everyone else get out. Seems a bit messed up that he has somehow come to the belief that the gods have dictated this is the case. But nevertheless, that you're not surprised to hear it, and not surprised to hear that they're sheltering in this kind of sacred tower either. In terms of asking about Drago, which was the other thing that you asked about, which might be where Druid kind of his knowledge comes into it being a Furbolg, as there is a lot of crossover between Titans and Furbolgs in terms of their cultures and communities and different thing and lore and mythologies. Draugr are kind of as Logi described them, these individuals that went out into the winter ranges. They starved to death or froze to death or died of thirst, or they were simply found by other Draugr and join in kind of this procession that walks through the forests and the mountains. They're a portent of evil and are meant to be absolutely terrifying. There's a lot of different tales about them, whether they actually exist or not. And you can see that Logi's like, he didn't just say, oh yeah, Draugr attacked. He was kind of like, look, these guys came out of the fog, out of the snowstorm, and everyone's calling them Draugr, but he's not committing to that as being the case necessarily. Yeah. The other thing that you can recall is that they're supposed to be led by an individual called the Wodan, who sort of sits atop a massive elk. That elk, having tasted flesh in desperation to survive the cold itself, has turned kind of wild and cannibalistic, known as the Seirimnir. And all of them meant to be kind of undying. Woden shepherds the Draugr and shepherds the winter storms kind of across the mountains. Or so they say,
Right. Terrifying. All of this is horrendous. So he just pulls out a couple of notebooks and starts going back through stuff and adding stuff, and is just trying to take notes of this whole situation as well and trying to piece together the puzzles.
Mm-hmm. Can I do a separate religion check to see if I've ever read or been educated around Draugr?
Yeah, sure.
9.
You've heard the stories, you've seen things, the creature atop the mountain, that raven-type cannibalistic creature. You might even describe that as being a Draugr, just going off the mythology. I believe, actually, you made a religion check last time. That creature is called a Valravan. Very similar kind of creature in the canon of Titan and Furbolg mythology, this individual that out of desperation to survive turned to cannibalism or simply didn't die. They're not necessarily seen as undead in the same camp as like zombies and ghouls. They're almost seen as like folk that are just still alive. Like they're just not dead. They're sustained by their own sheer will to live. Against all the odds. They could be undead. That could be mechanically, magically what's keeping them alive, to when Druid kind of starts to break it down a bit more knowledgeably about the way magic works in the world, but has never seen one before except for what was on the mountaintop. That didn't appear to be an undead creature, you don't think? Yeah.
Logi, my new friend, I would not be so hasty to dismiss this attack as something from myth and legend. Something is going on here.
Indeed.
Do you think that... who is this guy who has abandoned his village and is now holding up the last food stores? Do you think he can be reasoned with, or does he only respond to force?
Titans respect strength, that is certain. But Kror is not foolish either. He sits within the Obsidian Temple because he knows no violence can be done to him there. The temple is intended as a place of accord where the clans come together and debate things where violence is simply not permitted. I have not lived here my entire life, but I still uphold the traditions of my people. Therefore, I will not go and fight Craw while he sits within the temple. But you are not bound by the same traditions. Go and speak to him, see if he can be reasoned with, but I warn you, he has with him a creature. She is a woman, a titan, in fact, but she barely deserves the moniker. She calls herself the Wolf with many eyes. She is a seer of sorts, claims to know the will of the gods. I frankly think that she's filled with manure, but Craw believes her, and therefore he won't do anything that she tells him is an ill portent. She is the reason he believes that this village has been cleansed, that it is the gods' will that other common folk be driven from it. But a furbolg he might listen to.
Well, that sounds like our best bet. Junie, do you want to stay here and perhaps ask more about the vault of Velkond?
She kind of like looks at you, starts to nod like, you know, a kid that's been let out of detention. She's like, yes, I think that would be for the best if I remain here. Oh, look! And she pretends like she's only just noticed this big obsidian rock sticking out of the ground. Being closer to it, you guys can see that there's giant runes kind of carved into it as well, as patterns and shapes. They're difficult to tell exactly what they say, even for someone who can read giant, just because the rock is like very severely weathered. But she, you know, that whole time while she's standing next to Selby, and Selby's presumably a part of this conversation, on the other side of her, Juniper's just like vaguing out and looking at this rock, and then given the first excuse, just runs over to it and starts looking it up and down, and pulls out a notebook and starts to take notes.
If you need a scribe, I'd be happy to... Oh, she's gone. Well... right.
Takius is going to stand up off his mound of earth with his great sword out. He's going to look at Drew and look back at our new friend, whose name I've already forgotten, Logie, and say, well, it seems like it's an injustice out here for this community to be fractured. In these harsh environments, you've got to stay together, so we'll go and try and either talk some sense into this Craw, or... And he sort of like holds up his great sword. Or he looks at the sword and says, talk some sense into this Craw.
Logie kind of like nods. Yeah, he nods, you know, in agreeance, more or less, and wishes you luck. He says, if you need anything before you go, or after you come back, we can offer you what we have. We are not without supplies, but it simply will not last for very long. He turns around, just to give you guys a bit of a scope of the rest of the town square, things that I haven't described necessarily. You know, over here, as mentioned before, I think, Iris, you kind of scouted it out, there appears to be a blacksmith. You can see that it was undercover, like a veranda over the top of it. Appears kind of Skyrim style, with the smelter and the anvil and the forge all kind of outside, but it's all completely covered in snow now as it's been blown up under there. But you can see a woman just wanders back and forth with a carrot in her hand, kind of listlessly, not eating the carrot, almost like doesn't seem to realize she's even holding it, while what appears to be a half-elf, or possibly an elf even, kind of scrambles through, picking like a vulture through the snow for anything that's valuable, picks up what looks like an old tool, throws it away, and then goes back into the pile to see what else she can pull out. You've got your sleeping friend on the scaffold who just sits there kind of zonked out, and then of course the hall itself on the far side.
I'm gonna elbow Drew as well and be like, and don't forget the that gift. I think it's still polite, although maybe he doesn't really seem to need the heating element. But
it doesn't look like He
But
needs
it's
it.
polite. It's just it's what you do.
Oh, okay. And then he shuffles forward awkwardly and just like holds it out and kind of like maybe drops it instead of actually handing it over.
Oh, God, no.
Logie looks down at it, bends down,
It would be
picks it up,
tiny as well.
holds it like in his hand, and did you drop this?
So that is a gift from us to you, a peace offering.
Oh, thank you very much.
Giving anything back? Drew, is he giving anything back?
I think he's just
That's
giving
part
me.
of the social contract.
I think he's just giving me a cold look, which is very hard for those hot eyes.
Note to self in Sylvie's journal: find out social norms of Hickle.
Cool. What would you guys like to do from here?
Just quickly, does Tack call her greatsword diplomacy?
He might. But I don't think he knows a word that big, honestly.
Cool.
Well, sorry, you go.
Sorry. In the oh my god, word missing. Smithy area.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there anything apparent? Like I'm looking for two swords of a similar weight. Can I see anything, or is it all just completely submerged under the snow?
As you walk over to take a closer look, there definitely appears like there are still valuables there. The individual that is kind of picking through them appears to be indeed an elf. They turn their head towards you and look at you, kind of like giving you a glance, looks down, gives you like a second glance, does a bit of a double take, but then looks down again and continues to pick through. They don't comment or stop you. You can see that they're sort of dressed in an outdoorsy sort of way, in terms of having boots, a cloak. Kind of looks a little bit like a female budget Legolas, to describe her. As she's got her bow, she's got her quiver, but she doesn't look like a warrior, she's not armed to the teeth. She hasn't got like short swords on her back or anything like that. She almost looks more like a game hunter than she does a soldier or an archer. You can see that she appears to be collecting a small pool of valuables, and you can see that there's a breastplate which is sitting among that pool of valuables. You can also see that there's kind of like arrows and bolts and things, maybe even like a dagger or a short sword there. So there's definitely still things to be found in and among the area if you wanted to have a pick through or speak with her.
If anything, I would have just noticed that she's probably the most active in here. So I'd probably just I'll go over and say, you managed to avoid most of the fighting. You seem to be very alive compared to the rest of the people here.
She looks you up and down and says, well, one cannot afford to not be alive in times like this. These people, and she kind of gestures down to the soup kitchen line, they are waiting to die. Me, I want to survive. Therefore, I will do my best to do so. Plus, there is no better time like a tragedy to find opportunity, no? Speaks with this thick, elvish accent, we're going to call it. As she turns kind of like back around. She's not ignoring you, but she's just, continuing her search as as you hold this conversation.
Raises an eyebrow and says, be careful, trading in goods from tragedies can cause a tragedy itself, and starts to walk away.
Okay, sure, no stress. As you begin to walk away, she stands up and says, are you sure you do not wish to buy something? I'm sure I can find an arrow, a sword, breastplate, and she kind of kicks it as you walk away.
No, I'm good. You continue your death picking.
What do we wish to do?
Guess we're going to head off into a place that needs strength, which is awesome. And yeah.
Cool.
So are we going in the front, or shall we try some tactics?
I mean, I think tactics is wonderful. I mean, let's just hands up if you feel confident in strength. Great. Fabulous. Just want to make it very clear, I did not put my hand up at all in that discussion. So...
Did not.
Which yeah, I'd like to imagine my mechanical squirrel tiny paw goes on.
Selby, you are strong of heart.
Great. I absolutely strong of will, heart, optimism, so many things that I'm strong at apart from actual physical strength. So whichever way is going to... I think stealthing sounds wonderful. Try and get an advantage, a high ground. Anytime we can use our, the thinking skills, that's my strength. There we go.
So it occurs to me, if we go in the front, we can do the old make Tack look like a giant trick again, but remember, it only lasts 1 minute. Or if we wish to possibly take the back entrance, take out a few of his henchmen first, and then come at him with a position of, look, we have already taken out 3 of your men, you only have a few left, it is a very even fight now, and we will hold no mercy.
Well, we've also
Something
got
like
the wolf friend that Logie described to us, the all-seeing, which, if they can actually see, that's maybe not going to be in our favor.
If she is full of manure, then maybe all she will see is sheet.
That's true, actually. That's very fair. I believe that's how biology works.
Or we could do a distraction while we sneak in the back.
I think it would be not a bad idea to take her out first. She's the cause of why they're holed up in there in the first place.
Wait, does anyone have the ability to make people look like other people?
I can disguise myself for a minute.
Awesome. So you could potentially make yourself look like Wolfenstein. Or Wolfie, the wolf person. And then, you could then tell King Craw, hey, BTW, maybe give those people some food. Actually, turns out the gods don't like it, and being nice is cool.
But
we can work on the exact dialogue, but...
Have to make sure that she does not bust in while I am doing so.
Oh, yeah. No, I assumed from what it sounded like you were all going to kill her, which at this stage I think I have to be okay with.
I thought by take her out, you meant take her out of the tower and put her somewhere.
Oh, that's much kinder and more humane.
Oh no, that's not at all what I meant.
See,
I meant
that's what I was picking up on.
Dispose of her permanently.
I'm very confused by all the words that you're using and meaning other things. All right.
So metaphor is when you say something is something else.
Don't
worry, it's fine. Yeah, it's...
I have never met a four.
I've met a furbolg.
Yeah, it's kind of the same.
Like Drew over here.
No, that's spot on. Glad to know the Empire education system is going strong.
So if Iris and Tack are good at climbing, I can turn into a spider and carry Selby. We could go up the back of the Obsidian Tower and see what we see. If anyone can think of a distraction at the front to maybe gather some of the guards there first, it might give us a better chance of coming upon Wolfenstein first.
I mean, yeah. Takius and Iris, do you have a talent? Can you distract, sing, dance, recite poetry, don coconuts and do the hula? Is there anything like that you could do to just have a conversation? You know what? That's also a fine distraction.
No, we would need them with us. But can Nuts, perhaps?
Oh.
Could you put some little cymbals on his hands? I could start a fire. Maybe we could convince someone to, or make a scarecrow to stand there looking spooky in a cloak.
I could make tiny symbols that played out a little tune, a la a green sleeves kind of like situation. I have that ability. Sure. Selby starts pulling through her pockets and starts pulling out tiny little pieces of metal and like a tiny welder.
Little welding mask.
Yeah. And sure. That's actually, it's true. I have this mechanical squirrel. It should be useful for something. And yeah. But when they clang together, it plays green sleeves, or the fantasy Aurelian equivalent of.
Yeah. Sleeves of green.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. The bardic tail.
Yeah. Can I inspire my squirrel? I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Because it's got a stat block.
Yeah. No, I don't see why not.
Great.
I mean, the inspiration lasts for a minute, is it?
Yeah, I'd have, yeah.
You're like,
10 minutes.
Go. You're good.
10 minutes.
Okay, alright, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Just give it the thumbs up as you run out of sight.
I believe in you. Cool. Well, this sounds like a plan. And then I shall just stay in the back.
Cool. You make your way out of the town square and start to head to the Obsidian Temple, as it has been called. As you begin to... it's not far from the town square. As you begin to leave and head towards it, you note that the sun is starting to really get at the horizon now. You've got maybe an hour, 2 hours left of daylight before it will go dark. As you approach the Obsidian Temple, true to its name, it appears as you get closer to be constructed almost entirely out of obsidian. It is black, kind of glassy stone, again, massive slabs of it that are placed against each other to create this central citadel. Although the tower looks like it has collapsed at some point long ago, because you can see slabs of the volcanic rock also lying in the snow surrounding the temple, suggesting that it has fallen apart at some point. And in fact, the very top story of the temple looks very, it's flat up the top, but the wall kind of looks like battlements, but very rough. So it almost looks like, maybe there was an extra story on it that has since fallen down. You can see that the temple also has, it's a central keep, looks like it's maybe 2 stories plus the roof above, but on each of the compass points around the diamond-shaped temple, smaller watchtowers that are made of a different type of rock. These look like they've almost been grafted on there by the Titans after the fact. They're much, much smaller than the temple is itself. And can see that it has little thatched roofs that kind of sit above the battlements at the top of those towers, so that there's still open space. And in fact, you can see Titans walk back and forth at the top of those towers, looking down, each tower giving sort of a more than a 180, 270 degree kind of angle. It doesn't give them full 360s because the temple's behind them. But each tower basically has a view of 2 sides of the temple. That's what you can see kind of from further back. How do you wish to approach once you start to get closer to get a look at like the ground and what sort of entrances there are?
I guess stealthing, right? Like we're going to try and sneak.
Shall we perhaps wait until deeper night until we attempt to sneak in?
I mean, as a general rule, I've heard that generally once things get dark, the bad things start to go worse. Like most fairy tales I've ever read, whenever it gets dark is when
in this story, we are the bad things?
Clearly not. We're clearly helping people. We would never be bad people.
Bad for the people inside the Obsidian Tower.
Oh.
So like bad for the bad people.
Iris chuckles to herself quietly.
It's only slightly disconcerting.
But I thought we were going to try and talk to them. Why are we sneaking? why are we sneaking up on them?
Oh, I thought we were climbing the rear entrance and going and killing the wolf.
Ah.
Okay,
Is
I
that
think
a
we need to.
metaphor?
Tea puzzle.
I think we need to be clear on what our next steps are.
I thought we were going up the back to go and kill the wolf with many eyes and a couple of guards so that we could then go, now it's an even fight, what you gonna do?
Yeah. And then while we sneak around the back, we distract at the front. I mean, we might be able to talk our way. We might be able to talk to everyone and convince everyone on our way through that's, what they're doing is bad, and that they should join us and help, help people. So we might not have to kill anyone, Tak, if that's what you're worried about. I'm totally on board with that.
No, I was just very confused by what we were doing. That if we're gonna go up the back of the tower and try and muscle our way in, then let's do that.
We can put down the guards without necessarily killing them.
Fun in that.
But, Selby, if you can make a small gift for each of the people we may encounter along the way, maybe that will improve our chances of getting them on side.
Great. I can make some really nice lavender smelling oils, or I'm not really quite sure what they're called, what scent would be up here. I mean, if you were to design a scent, what do you think it would be? I can pretty much make any odor.
Something that would be from up here, something really refreshing, or something really like the scent of hot soup, or the scent of a hearty meal.
Cinnamon, maybe.
Oh yeah, sure.
Of your glue, warm wine, cinnamon.
Yeah, perfect.
And salt. I don't know what cinnamon and salt would taste like together, or that could maybe that's something that is an alchemical no, but.
Yeah, it just blows up. No, you don't do that.
This is where I probably should have researched what you can mix with other stuff.
You accidentally make thermite and then everything goes bad.
It's just oh, cool, a pipe bomb. How did this happen? Who knew? Cinnamon and salt?
I can do that, and I start, going through and mixing some tiny... I can mix 3, put it this way, which also means that the one we gave Lorgie is then no longer... It's just a vial of random shit that has no...
He's hey, what the...
Yeah. I'm also not sure if any of this is safe to consume, so we probably should have told him that, but that's on me.
Sticker on it that says, for novelty use only.
Yeah, I'll make a little gift tag. Please do not consume.
From where we're standing,
yes,
the Obsidian Temple.
Yes.
The way the blocks are together, does it look like there's handholds, or would it be easier to climb one of the other towers?
It looks like it would be pretty difficult if you were just to try to climb up to the roof, knowing that again you'd be between the two towers. Let me just take you guys a little bit closer. How can I do it? Okay, what I'll do, this is just to give you guys an idea of what you're looking at if you look at the side of the Obsidian Temple. The reason I'm using this side is because you guys aren't quite, I'm assuming because you haven't stealthed or anything yet, you're still a street or two back, so you're kind of looking at it over the rooftops. You can see, so just moving one of the tokens forward to be able to take a look. So this is the side wall of the temple, and these walls that go out at an angle on either side are the towers on either side. So if you were to attempt to kind of latch onto this wall and attempt to climb up the side of it, it looks like it's possible for sure. It's a bit of a climb. It's about 80 feet. So it's not short. And in fact, when I say this tower is 2 stories high, what I kind of mean is that it looks like it's you can see 2 sets of windows in it, but it looks like it's probably, not built for humanoids. Let me put it that way. You could probably find handholds and get up there, but it would be definitely a bit of a risk. Would take a bit of an athletics check, to use a mechanical term. Getting up to these towers might also be possible. Make for me just a quick investigation check. Just, what would tick through, what would occur to Iris as you're casing this joint from a distance?
Not much. I got 3.
Okay, cool. The one other thing that you would note is that, like, if you were to climb up this wall, if any of the titans that are on these watchtowers, and from what you can see, there appears to be one on each watchtower, you'd be, like, basically just, once you got off the ground and out of the ruin that's on the ground, you'd be basically, like, completely exposed if one of them was to walk over and look and be like, hey.
Are the windows big enough to go in?
No, they're like arrow slits.
And friends.
So we can hope for a very distracting distraction, or we can wait until the guard change late at night. Would be my 2 guesses.
Again, I probably prefer like sooner rather than later, only because I'm not going to lie, there is a strong likelihood that I will just bail out at any stage. I'm running on pure adrenaline and just hope right now. But I'm happy to go with the team. We can be talked off the ledge.
Takius is going to thwack a big meaty hand down onto Selby's shoulder and say, "You've got this."
I was like barbarian inspiration there.
Yeah. Thanks. So we like flinches.
Takius just sort of like mimicking like the feeling that Selby gives him quite often, trying to give it back.
Thank you.
Make a charisma check for me, Takius.
Oh no, I have a negative 1 to charisma.
But
I rolled a 19. I rolled a natural 20 minus 1, so.
All right. Selby, take a point of inspiration. You feel, strangely kind of comforted by that.
Amazing. Oh, that's so nice. I never get inspiration. Yay. Oh, see, this is why bards are great, guys. Now I know what that feeling is. Alright,
Cool.
well this is the plan that I had drawn up so far, is we had a distraction, and then we go at the back. That's what I've got so far for a plan, as I'm frantically trying to draw something up, because, again, what you can control. But we could just go wait until nightfall.
We could get around the back just to see if there is indeed a back entrance.
That's actually a very
definitely.
valid
If you
point.
guys want to try and case the joint, scout it out.
That's actually immediately clever. So we like rips out a page and goes, of course, that's... We actually haven't checked there is a back entrance.
Would you like to move as a group or send someone out to scout?
I am not very stealthy.
Me
Out
either.
around.
Okay.
I'm very
make-
stealthy. If Iris wants to go alone.
I'm happy for the company, so long as you don't blow my cover.
I'll try not to.
Make stealth checks for me. Famous last words.
Oh my god. 21.
Nice.
6.
Okay, great.
It's skills that I rolled really badly.
What was that about blowing cover?
I'm just going to pull you guys down to a different location that you would be approaching the tower from as well. We're going to assume that Selby and Druid are hanging back kind of in this cluster of houses as the 2 stealthier characters move out. Would you guys go, you're kind of approaching from the southeast, would you go directly north or would you go west to begin your scouting?
Oh well, are we able to see if someone's looking in any particular direction and then go the opposite direction?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, so the Titan that's like in that tower is currently looking across to the west, so north would be the best way to avoid their eyesight at the moment. As you begin to move along in that direction, and I'm assuming that you might even be further back than I'm taking your tokens to the tower. This is just so you guys can see what I'm showing. But with those stealth checks, assuming what will kind of happen as you move around, you can see that, the tower is almost symmetrical in its construction, or what would be a better word for that? What's symmetrical times 4? What does that count as? I'm not sure, but you know what I mean. Like it's entire, like it's almost like circular in its diamond-like design. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm just saying shapes now.
4 points of symmetry.
Yeah, it's got 4 points. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Thank you. This is great. This is great. Teamwork. Making your way around, you can see that there is quite a bit of ruin all around it, though. The tower looks very old and like it has fallen down probably at least a few times. Tacius, as you kind of, coming up behind where Iris is moving to, a massive something flies over the back of your head and buries itself in the snow to your right-hand side. And as you turn around to look at what it was, it's a javelin kind of sticking out of the ground. And as you look up at the tower, you can see the Titan standing on the battlements, and what he's holding is a bow. But this bow is like 10, 11 feet tall, like it's taller than he is. And you can see that he's kind of like having released it, and then shouts something in giant, it's Galaga, from the top of the tower. Difficult to tell whether he was trying to hit you or a warning shot. Go ahead.
I'm going to pick up the javelin, and I'm going to say in common, "Did you drop this?"
You see him kind of like, furrow his brow, turn back around and kind of like disappear for a second. And then he reappears with another javelin, kind of like begins to load it into his great bow, pulls back. You can see like the muscle work, across his chest and his arms as he pulls back on that bow, which evidently takes quite a lot of strength to even be able to pull it back. And you can see the other Titan in the southern tower, having heard something, kind of, he's, at a bit of an angle and can't really see up to what's going on, but you just see his attention is kind of like, what's going on over there? What's going on? And this guy shouts over, he's like, oh my god, and that guy's like, he's a good. Druid standing like further back, you just get it like drifting along the wind. They're like, there's a commoner here. What do they want? I don't know. They're snooping around.
Javelin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she wants to give it back, I think. They're so considerate.
I'm just gonna like grin ridiculously and just be like waving friendlily up towards them.
As that happens, I turn to Selby and I say, "Do you think both of us can take out one of them? Is this the distractions that we need?
Take out one of the Titans?
Take out someone on the tower. I can have us up there lickety split."
Yes.
Okay, and I grab her and I run, and I run. My next few actions will be to run to the base of the tower of the Titan while he's looking in the other direction. So on this, like, on the southern side, I can't, like the southeast.
Oh yeah, you could, as in you. So the one that's firing is from this tower here, but you want to run up this tower here.
Yeah, but in the blind side of the guy who's now looking and
across.
To the, yeah.
All right.
And I'm going to turn into a giant wolf spider.
Okay, cool. What does it look like when you do that?
So I pull a couple of what looked like furry parts of something on my cloak, and then like more of them kind of flip out from underneath. And as I kind of jump and these furry tails come out, they turn into 8 legs, and all of a sudden I'm a medium size, but enough to still carry Selby wolf spider, and I like web Selby up a little bit and just start. I can climb 40 feet around, no need to check.
Cool.
And start going up.
Great. Can you for me make a stealth check if you don't get spotted by this guy?
Right on. Ooh, stealthy as a giant wolf spider. +3. Oh yeah, that's like a 19.
Great. Okay. You begin.
No, sorry, that's a 20 heaps.
Okay, great. As you kind of run out,
20
turn
heaps.
into this spider, start to climb up the side of the tower. Back on the northern side, what are the two of us doing? Iris, you're obviously like very aware of what's happened, but this Titan doesn't appear to see you. For what it's worth as well, you haven't quite made it through the ruin to see what it's like at the base, but the northern tower over this way, or the northwestern tower over this way, is actually collapsed. There's no battlement or anything to stand on, so you don't have to worry about a Titan shooting javelins at you from over here. What do the two of you wish to do?
Takius is going to put down the javelin that he just picked up, and then sort of like hold his greatsword in one hand, so he can't actually really use it, but just sort of like get ready to catch the second javelin.
Okay, cool. I'm going to read that as a dodge action, as this second shot
Or
is...
to be a monk right now.
Takius's armor. Okay, that second shot does hit, and it is going to do... Okay, it hits, but it grazes. It is not a heavy hit by any stretch of the imagination, as the arrow, or the javelin, I should say, flies out of the bow, and you can see it kind of like bending as it does through the air. Comes flying towards you. You manage to step to the side with enough time that it only really nicks like your shoulder, possibly, and you take 1 point of piercing damage.
Wow, okay. Oof. Alright. Not playing. I'm gonna hold my greatsword in both hands, and I'm going to... Can I see Iris, or is she disappeared from view?
You could possibly... It kind of depends. Oh, we lost Felix. Hopefully he'll be back in half a second. There he is. No, that's okay, man. You can see... You could see Iris if Iris you want not Selby, if you want Takius to be able to see you. We could assume that it's kind of like a trench, you're bundled up, but you can wave, or you could be completely hidden. It's kind of up to you.
No, as soon as I saw the first javelin come down, I'm like, oh no, noping out of this, and I'm hiding in the snow.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Make a stealth check for me.
Oh, okay. 15 plus 17.
Okay, cool. As far as you know, Takius, Iris, has completely abandoned you.
Alright, in that case, I'm going to run back to where Selby and Drew were. I'm just gonna
Okay. Cool.
Just gonna leg it.
As you start legging it around, what's your movement speed?
That is a good question, because I am a barbarian. It's only 30 feet at the moment.
Okay, it's 30 for the moment. Okay, cool.
But I'm gonna use my action and bonus action basically to dash.
Yeah, cool. As you start dashing around. On this southern side, as the giant spider with the halfling, is this a willing rider or a somewhat unwilling rider?
Yeah, look, willing technically.
Okay.
I mean,
cool.
I would rather not be in this situation full stop, but, I'd also rather not be by myself right now, so if it's on a spider, it's on a spider.
Cool, no stress. You climb up to the top of the little squat tower. Whoops, I'm clicking the wrong thing. That's why it's not doing anything. Come up onto the top here, and this Titan, they are kind of turned this way at the moment, watching what's happening out there. What do the two of you wish to do?
Leap and bite it.
Cool. Make an attack roll. You have advantage on it.
Lucky for that advantage. 11?
11 will not hit, unfortunately, as you dive at this guy, or girl, I should say. It is a female Titan, in fact. As you dive at them, attempt to bite them from behind, and just your pincers, your venomous fangs don't quite punch through the hide armor that they have on their back, and they very quickly jam the kind of end of the great bow that they're holding into the side of your spider head to knock you back away from them. Turn around quickly to see you behind them, and then you can see them starting to go for their weapons. Selby, you would have an opportunity to do something as well.
Sweet. I am going to send Nuts out of the because he goes with my initiative. Out of the shield, and he is going to do Shocking Grasp on the Titan with his little tiny paw. He's going to try and electrocute this
Perfect.
Titan.
Make an attack roll for me. Let's call this with advantage as well, as the squirrel kind of, the spider distracts and then the squirrel runs up the back of his leg.
Can I use my inspiration now as well? Is that how this works?
You don't have to. You'd already have advantage.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Then that is a 15 to hit.
Cool. The 15 will indeed hit as the squirrel runs up their leg.
For 3 points of lightning damage.
Cool. Alrighty. I will note that down. Sorry, I was trying to get the squirrel up there. I know what I was doing wrong. Squirrel runs along, runs up. What does it look like when you cast this spell through the squirrel?
So you just see Nuts just runs up and just like this tiny little head kink, and then just puts its paw out, and just electricity. You see just little kind of beads of electricity come out of its paw. It's cute but alarming.
Okay, cool. As it runs,
sight to behold.
Yeah.
Runs up there, shocks this Titan. Doesn't do, in the grand scheme of things, a whole lot of damage to them, but definitely harms them as they kind of seize up as a result. Did either of you wish to do anything else with this kind of turn, if you will?
Is there a way for me to then somehow, I don't know, this crossbow looks particularly large for a gnomish creature, but can I somehow man that crossbow to point it towards the Titan?
Not on this turn, only because it'll
Fair
use
enough.
it is too
Fair
heavy. It would require an action for you to be able to turn it
Great.
around. Jumping just quickly across the battlefield, or what has become a battlefield. What do we think is happening over with Iris? What's Iris doing, having seen their companion just disappear back around the tower corner?
Oh. Well, this has gone all pear-shaped. Work to the plan, and I'm going to keep sneaking around to try and find a back entrance. As far as I know, we're just working to the plan.
Okay, cool. No problem. Can you make a perception check for me?
Yep. Sure. 21.
Okay, perfect.
Rolling well.
Nice. There's nothing worse than like just players that are rolling really bad. I'm going to make an on-stream confession that I am a fudger on occasion, on rare occasion, mainly to help the party out of tight situations if I've made a mistake as a DM. But when the party are rolling low, it's like, man, there's nothing I can do about that. You guys are in trouble. Fortunately, with your high rolls, as you pick your way through the ruins, you do note that, the Northern Tower is completely collapsed down into itself. And in fact, as you work your way through and kind of squeeze in, you can see that this little chamber, it is ruined, open to the sky above. Snow still kind of drifts down into here, but there does indeed appear to be a door on the southern side that is closed against you, but nevertheless unguarded.
Cross to the door and put my ear to it. Do I hear anything on the other side?
You do not, no. Make another perception check for me for more distant sounds.
I knew my luck had to finish at some point. That's 4 total.
Okay, cool. As you press your ear against it, there's no immediate sounds that you hear, no.
Okay. Does it have a handle?
It does, yep. As you try the handle delicately, it is locked.
Cool. And and there's no other way out of this other than where it was fallen in and the door. Yeah.
As you kind of like trek backwards, just looking up the wall, you can see there is actually a second door kind of 30 feet up on the wall. That door was probably entered out or exited out of the tower up onto the battlements back when they existed before it collapsed down. But there's no footing. There's like nothing there to kind of stand on to be able to open that door necessarily. And just judging by logic, like these Titans are obviously aware these doors exist. That's why this one's locked almost certainly. You would guess that one probably is too, in terms of judging how much effort you would go to try to reach it.
Yeah, I'm going to walk back out and continue going around.
Complete circle. Okay, cool. Across with Tachius, kind of running this way.
As I was running, did I see Drew and Selby go up over the top of the tower?
That's a good question. I reckon by time you're coming back around with the way that the timing went, you probably didn't see them go up it, but you probably are aware that something's happening up there because that Titan's not firing javelins at you. And in fact, you might even see Selby, just her head above the battlements as she sits on the spider and then disappears as she slides off. You are getting javelins kind of rained down on you from the Titan in the northern tower. Both have missed as he kind of like stretches back, fires again, and then as you run, further southward, I'm assuming for the moment, the second shot does not ring out, the third shot I should say. What do you wish to do?
I'm actually going to, I do have a javelin in my equipment, so I'm actually going to quickly unstrap my own javelin, and seeing the current Titan that's engaged with both Selby and Drew, I'm gonna try and lob my javelin up. Now it's a 30-foot range on the shorter distance. Will I need to roll at disadvantage to get it up there?
Let's assume for like throwing it from here, you would. Yeah, it would be more than 30 feet.
Disadvantage, I rolled a 13 and a 14 plus 5. So the lowest is an 18 to hit.
An 18 will hit him, passing even over the battlements that provide a bit of cover.
Okay. Damage. And I rolled really badly on the damage. That is 4 points of damage.
Okay, cool. That javelin hits him in the back and up on the second level, or her, I should say. She cries out as the javelin hits her, kind of seizes up, turns around, looks and sees you down the bottom, looks and sees Selby and the spider up the top. Can I just get... I'll get the three of you to roll initiative for me. Just to see who's faster out of you and this Titan. I'm going to assume it's you guys.
11.
Cool. How'd you go, Druid?
8.
Okay. And down the bottom with Tachius?
13.
Okay, cool. Druid and Selby, what would you like to do on your turn?
I'm just going to try and land a bite.
Okay, make an attack roll.
Anything more than that.
Cool. Just for the record, the reason I've jumped up here is because we're assuming that it was like as part of the same turn that you threw the javelin, Tachius, as you came around the corner sprinting up.
Total sense.
Man, D&D Beyond is shafting me. 6 on that attack.
6 will not hit. This Titan manages to get her shield in the fight now, brings it down in front of herself, and the fangs bury themselves into it. Do you want to do any movement or stay where you are?
No, just like keep her hemmed in.
Cool. There. Selby?
Yes, I would like to... I don't think I have like a negative on my strength, so I'm not going to try and get to that giant crossbow, as tempting as the player in me wants to do it. Instead, I'm going to use one of my spells. I'm going to cast Grease. And I'm going to pour just a bunch of a particularly slimy looking vial that I keep in one of my pouches, mix it with something else. It's going to go 10 foot though, so I know it's going to I'm hoping we can I'm going to push myself back before I cast it, but I'm hoping a spider's dexterous.
I guess we'll find out. What color would you say this is?
It's like a grey, nondescript, just disgusting kind of opaque color. It would almost not have a color. It's just gross.
Gotcha.
As I make this, I imagine like when she's casting alchemical stuff, it's more a mixture of that, mixing things together on the spur and just kind of lancing it outwards. So the Titan needs to make a dex save.
Sure. I'm going to put that there. As you step back away from it. What's your spell save DC?
It is 13.
Not going to make the save. They go prone, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. As she slips over and lands on her back in the grease.
Yep. Great.
Dexterity save as well for Spider-Man.
Yeah, sorry.
10.
Very
common.
As the spider also flips upside down.
Somehow that makes 0 sense.
Yeah, it's just like you almost like rise up in the air, flip, and then fall. It's just like really weird. Selby's like, how do physics work? I don't know. Cool. Okay. The Titan on their turn is going to get themselves back up as they stand up. And this spider now on its back brings the battle axe over the top. That attack. What's your armor class as a spider?
13.
Is that going to hit? I think it does. Let me just quickly check the stat block. That is going to hit, and it is going to deal 4 points of slashing damage. As the Titan then attempts to run this way. Do they need to make a dex save every time they move in a square that's got the grease?
Yeah,
let's say
10 minutes. So
cool. They succeed that second save against the grease, moving away to there. Run to there. Attack of opportunity from the spider. You have disadvantage on it.
Yep. 11.
Does not hit as they run past. Kick open the door so hard that it flies off its hinges into the room. And then runs in. What are they going? They got 5. They would have moved 15 feet to get up first. 10. 15, 20, 25, 30. That's as far as they can go. Cool. Just put the door back on. Jumping across. As you continue to come around the outside, Iris, the rest of this wall, like it looks, much like it does with the others. You kind of pick your way around. Make another stealth check for me for the Titan that's up in this tower. Nine. Cool. Let me check their passage. Okay, cool. As you are picking your way around the outside of these stones, the Titan that's up in the tower directly across from you has definitely, spots something. You press yourself down into the rocks. It's almost, the camera, if it's on you, pans upwards to see the Titan kind of like, what? What is it? I'm sure it wasn't the wind. Doesn't start firing yet though, but you kind of taking a peek up over the rock can see they're definitely looking down. They spotted you, they just didn't necessarily see where you slid to. What would you like to do? I think you might be muted at the moment.
Yep. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I lip read 9 before, so I was like,
Sorry.
yes. All good.
I'm going to dash so that I'm hard up against the tower.
Okay, cool. No stress. You get up, start sprinting along. A javelin kind of loosens, but it goes well past over your shoulder as you run up and get against the tower. And then you can hear that Titan shouting from up above. Across the other side with Tachius. What is Tachius doing?
Tachius is going to sort of, obviously not knowing what Iris is doing, is actually going to run up to the base of the tower that he's currently at. And then he's going to rage as a bonus action, if I can get that far.
Yep, that's as far as you can go in a single movement. If you dash, you can get to the base and start climbing, if that's the intention.
Yeah, I might do that, but I will rage before I climb.
Yep. Make an athletics check with advantage.
That's what I was hoping for. That is an 18.
Okay, cool. You start climbing up the side of the tower to get to the top, making sure I hit the right layer button this time. As you climb over the top, see a giant spider upside down in a puddle of like grey, indiscriminate mess. Coming over the top, hearing kind of like as you're climbing up the side, the door conk open as the Titan starts to disappear through it. What is Druid Spiderweed doing at the moment?
Spiderweed will right himself. Another amazing display of physics.
Yeah.
And kind of gesture at Selby, and then with two legs be like, and then jump on the top of the wall, as in, let's climb down. This went terribly.
Oh, okay, cool.
And sees Tack, and it's just like, very spider-like fashion.
Okay, cool. Selby?
Well, I'm gonna dispel grease, but I guess it's just like pull out a bunch of sand and just start like throwing sand out and just, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That's not at all what I thought would happen. Is this Titan, like, this Titan's within range of me though? Still, can I still see them?
Yeah, they're right next to you. They would get an attack of opportunity if you decided to step away. They might even do that, as they've got out a battle axe in their shield now.
Oh, well, I am going to think back to Tachius's inspiring words, and I'm going to pull out my one weapon, which is a dagger, and I'm going to try and, I guess, stab at the Titan, which is way too full on for me, but...
Okay, cool. Make an attack roll with advantage. Are you using your inspiration for this? Is that the implication you made?
I used it last time, I'll say, so I'm assuming it's gone.
What did you use it on last time? I think you had advantage.
Oh, I
on
already
the
have it. So yes.
Yes.
Yes, sorry, I will.
Cool. All right, you have advantage on this. Yeah, the previous one was functionally a sneak attack because the Titan didn't know you were there.
Oh, that was almost a 16, but it wasn't. 10.
You go to stab this Titan who, as they bust the door with their shield, turn around, you draw your dagger, come running at them, and she just boots you in the face to kick you backwards away from her. The dagger hits the ground, kind of clatters on the ground as it falls out of your hand, and she does no damage except for possibly the emotional scars from her boot kick, keeping you at a distance for this attack.
I don't have it. I didn't have it. Yeah, great.
Do you want to stay there or do you want to move?
I will try and jump back on my spider friend. Just
sure.
Launch myself onto a
Okay, cool. As you take a step away, this Titan kind of by their sudden success, realizing that the spider is fleeing, realizing that you're a halfling who clearly doesn't know how to use a dagger, steps forward with their battle axe, takes a swing, hitting you critically, doing 12 points of slashing damage.
Right.
Sending you kind of rocking sideways, and this is probably what's happening right, Tachius, as you get to the top of the wall, and the first thing you see as your eyes go over the top is a spider going like, nah, we're out. And Selby getting hit with a battle axe from the doorway. Selby, you've still got movement. Do you wish to keep going?
Yeah. I'm still trying to now bloodily cling on to the spider, less heroic and more like, dear God, get me out of here.
Cool. No problem. Climbing up onto the back of it. Kind of blood staining your cloak. Meanwhile, across the battlefield, hearing the Titan kind of shouting from the top of the tower, what would you like to do, Iris?
They'll look up and try and make an assessment based off what I hear as to whether or not I should go up there or I should look for a different entrance.
It sounds like there's only a single voice up there at the moment, but you can hear other voices, kind of shouts back up coming from around this corner. It seems that there are Titans on the ground level as well, just around this corner, who the Titan at the top of your tower is conversing with. So it's a pretty tall climb as well. It's about 30 feet to get to the top of this tower, so not necessarily an easy climb without assistance either.
I'll continue going around then, but hugging the wall.
Okay, cool. Let's go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. As you get around to there, you can see indeed there's kind of, let me just extend your fog of war a little bit so that you can see a little bit further. To that, you can see around this corner there appears to be the actual entrance into the temple, and there are 4 Titans standing out the front here who are kind of like listening to that Titan up the top, turned around. This person looks like they're going to start wandering over. This person looks like they're going to start wandering over. This person on the far side is actually turned around, like wondering what the hell's going up the top of the other tower. And then this guy in the center of them all, he's like looking in both directions. He looks a little bit different from the others, just in terms of like he's the weediest Titan you've ever seen. Titans are usually 7.5 to 8.5 feet tall. This guy's like 6.5 to 7 feet tall, muscly, but in a much more sinewy kind of Spider-Man way than the broad kind of bulky way that Titans tend to be. You can see he's got tattoos that run along him. He's bald on top of his head, but has a wispy kind of pointed beard beneath, as he looks as the Titans kind of make their way off in both directions. You can see he's got a bit of like war paint under his eyes to try and make himself look scarier, I guess. 2 battle axes, or hand axes rather, by the size of them, sit in slings at his belt, and he's just watching the others kind of like begin to disperse in 2 different directions. What would you like to do with the rest of your turn?
Any rocks under my feet, like pebbles that I can pick up? I want to pick up a stone or a pebble and throw it towards the pile of debris in front of me.
Yep. Make for me a dexterity check.
18.
Okay. That rock flies through the air, and then among those rocks makes a sound which definitely draws the attention of the 2 Titans coming to investigate, and they begin to move kind of closer in that direction, not directly towards where you are.
I will just duck around that little corner.
As in back up this way?
Yep.
Cool. No stress as you move back to there. Bringing us across to the other side, Takius, having reached to the top of the tower, seeing what's happening here, what would you like to do?
I'm actually going to jump off the ledge and into the tower.
Yep.
And as a bonus action, I'm going to activate my storm aura. So the air around me sort of like crackles with electricity. So I'm going to get up to, say, sort of the middle of the tower, so that the Titan is within the storm aura.
How is it within 5 feet or 10 feet?
10 feet.
Okay, cool. Put you there. That will be within 10 feet of it.
So she needs to make a dexterity DC 13.
Okay, cool. Let me. I want to do that. I want to do that. I'm going to bring that and put it under you as you begin to crackle with energy in that general. It's 10 feet, is it? So that general area, it's not small. Dexterity save. You said, what's the DC again? 13. Does not succeed the save.
I rolled 6 on that, so that is 6 points of lightning damage.
Kill. Shocks them as the storm aura kind of arches towards them and burns up the side of them. Being pretty tough, the Titan is not felled by it, but you can see that she's definitely injured. And in fact, you can see like congealed blood come to the surface of the wound and start to kind of dribble down the sides of it as she becomes bloodied, meaning she's at half health.
All right, and seeing how badly injured Selby is, I'm going to sort of like very much take up a defensive position between the Titan and Selby, and I'm going to, as my action, take out my 2 hand axes. And I'm just going to throw them both at this Titan.
Okay, cool.
So using 2 fighting to do
that. You wouldn't be able to because you use your bonus action to activate your storm aura.
Yeah, sorry.
All good.
Right.
Go for your single hand axe attack.
18 to hit.
That will hit. Go for damage.
And that is 5 points of slashing damage.
Okay, cool. Impacts into the Titan's chest, definitely injuring her again, and she's looking pretty bad right now. Definitely looks like she wants to get out of there. You can tell that she's like backing away into the doorway, almost limping at this point. Anything else that you wish to do?
You know what? I'm seeing that she's trying to back away. I'm actually going to close the distance so that if she tries to get away,
you get the attack of opportunity. Yeah, cool. I am just going to join you with your storm aura so that it will follow you wherever you go. What about Druid seeing this?
Seeing that, very impressive round. Definitely going to turn and head back in.
How does Selby feel about this?
No.
Perfectly happy for Selby to get off. But yeah.
This is better. I find this
Also just Arkenforge and your mastery of it, Ben.
Oh, it's only been 12 months of lockdown practice, but thank you.
And no longer using D&D Beyond. Got my old faithful metal dice here.
Go for it.
Yeah, nah.
Spider fangs are just not.
Sorry, yeah, no.
Yeah, they're just not long enough to punch through the armor, unfortunately. Yeah, big in stature, small in fangs. Cool. Is that Druid's turn?
Yeah.
Selby being thrust back into the melee.
I'm definitely not attacking. I know that much. So instead, I'm going to put my hand on my spider friend, and I'm going to cast heroism on them. So I'm going to say, my blood is so red, my strength is so few, we need help right now, so a hero is you. And yeah, so you get bonus 4 health, spider friend. Seeing as because I figure now if you take a hit, then I don't. So enjoy that, and you're also immune to being frightened, and that's it, being frightened. And then as my bonus action, I'm going to inspire Tachius to be like, Tachius, I didn't have this, but I'm pretty sure you have this. And you get inspiration.
Is that a D6?
Yeah.
Cool.
Perfect.
And then I'm just going to cling onto the spider for dear life, literally.
Do you want to, just so they don't get forgotten, want to recall your squirrel?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's just, yeah, great. Back here.
That's my squirrel sound. Cool. Cross the other side. as these titans kind of hunt around for you, but maybe peeking, you can see that there's definitely interest being tracked on that other tower as well. Like they're all they're looking for you, but then turning around going like, what's over there? As lightning starts to arc from the top of that tower. What do you wish to do, Iris?
Gonna pull out my longsword again and just go, okay, you can do this. And I'm gonna rush towards the closest titan.
Cool. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 as you run up to the first one. Make an attack roll for me. Go with advantage. Let's say that they didn't know you were there and they're looking kind of away towards the tower.
20.
Nice. Dirty or natural?
Dirty.
Cool.
0. Sorry.
That's alright. I have to give all these titans health now, I just realised. And then
so that is 10 damage.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to use one of my sonic strikes as well with it. For an additional 4, so that's 14 in total.
Okay, cool. We should bring them down to that. Severely injuring that titan as you run out, strike them from behind, cuts across their back. They stumble forward, and the other titans all turn around and like, oh, what the hell is going on out here? Spot you. This titan is severely injured but not slain by the attack, but blood definitely drips from the end of your sword, given the strike to them. What do you want to do with the rest of your turn? You've used all your movement to get to them.
Yep.
Was that a bonus action to use the sonic strike?
It says other, not bonus.
I'm going to assume maybe it's part of the attack. Which subclass is this? You have to remind me.
This is Psy Warrior.
Okay, kill monk. Fight monk druid. I've gone too far. Here we go. Psy warrior. Sonic powers, protective field, sonic strike. Repel your weapons once on each of your turns immediately after you hit a target within 30 feet of you. Yeah, no, it seems to me it's kind of like a smite, so it's as part of making the sword attack. So you've still got a bonus action if you want to use it.
I'm going to look up at the Triton and look at his face and go, give us an audience.
Okay, cool. That will bring us to... Actually, I can't remember. I need to actually officialize this initiative order now, actually. I'm going to go Druid. I'm going to go Tachius. I'm going to go Selby. I'm going to have Iris down here. And then, actually, you know what? I'll put Iris there, and then the Titans. Because I don't believe this one at the top of the tower has acted in a little while, so let's jump to them. Oops, that's one too far. They are indeed going to turn around and attempt to fall back into the tower, going 5...
Opportunity, please.
10, yes, absolutely. They even push the door open a little bit further as they go.
With my greatsword, that is a 21 to hit.
That will hit. Go for damage.
That is a better roll. That is 12 points of damage, and I have sentinels, so they can't move.
Yeah, they definitely can't move because they did. As they almost like collapse into the corridor, like just the weight of their body pushes the door further open. Ending that Titan for the immediate time being. These ones down here on the lower level just kind of run, go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And as they basically dogpile into Iris, weapons out, kind of looking pretty unhappy. They run up to you, and you can like tell pretty quick, like what sort of military experience does Iris have, or like is Iris like what type of warrior are they? What's their experience on the battlefield?
She was basically like a go in, take a couple of people out, dash back kind of a person. So almost like a guerrilla
striker? Fighter.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
As part of like a military unit, or as part of like a... Okay, cool. So you've seen soldiers before. These Titans are not soldiers. They're definitely dangerous, but they're not soldiers. The way that they dogpile you is not so much a, let's rank up, shields out, and let's, harry you, but it's just like, get them on the ground and hit them with their axes as quick as we can. They push their advantage very, very quickly and very harshly, and being surrounded by three of them makes it pretty difficult for you to be able to defend yourself all at once. You might say that they work together really well as a pack. Their tactics could be described as pack-like, or they have pack tactics as a way of kind of suggesting the way that they attack. The first revenge attack against you from the first Titan who you hit, your armor class is 15, that is not going to hit. The second, two injured, they kind of try to lift their battle axe, and the wound that you dealt them, they just don't have the strength in their arm for this immediate strike. The second one is going to hit, and it is going to do... is going to do 11 points of slashing damage. And the third one will miss as you manage to kind of duck and weave around those. This guy in the background kind of almost like saunters forward, and you can see him like watching what's happening with like a, how dogs like tilt their head. He's almost got like his head tilted like he's curious, and he just says, "We will take you to see Kra for an audience in many pieces as you have chosen." Ending their turn, bringing us in our new official initiative order up to Tacius at the top of the tower. What would you like to do? You guys would be aware as well. You'd be hearing the sounds, and then you just have to look to see what's happening down in the front of the tower.
All right. As a free interaction, I'm going to take my potion of healing that I have and thrust it into Selby's hand.
Sure.
And then I'm just going to straight go to the side of the tower, look over, see
Mm-hmm.
Iris, and then I'm just going to full on leap off and try my best to land.
Okay, cool.
I usually play monks. Damn it.
Make for me, let's call it an athletics. This is a 30-foot drop. Let's call it an athletics check.
Raging, so...
Yeah, so you'll have advantage on it.
That is a 22.
Okay, cool.
Someone's rolling good in this duo fight.
Hey, Pink Spider's doing great.
So yeah, I'm gonna leap off.
Yeah, definitely.
You take 9 halved to 4 points of
Yep.
bludgeoning damage as you leap off the side of the tower. And Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool's like, hero landing, just off to the side somewhere. As you hit the ground with a kind of sound, and you feel the pain kind of strain up in your legs, but you're not feeling the worst of it right now. You've moved maybe, let's say, 5, 10... You've moved maybe 15 feet at this point to kind of get it over and jump off the tower.
Okay, I'm gonna run the rest of my 30 feet and try and get
cool.
that guy within my aura.
Yeah, he'd be within it as you get to there.
Cool, so he needs to make a dexterity save, DC
Sure.
13.
He succeeds the save.
Okay, so he takes half damage, so half of 5, so 2 points of lightning damage.
Cool. You shock this dude from behind. He kind of like starts and seizes up and goes, ouch! Turns around and looks at you. And you can see him going for his hand axes by his waist. He was, not completely surprised in the rogue sense, but didn't necessarily expect you to run down on him. Cool. Is that your turn done?
Yeah, that's everything I can do.
Cool. No stress, which will bring us to Druid.
Oh, I'm very stressed. There is many stress here.
Druid, what would you like to do with your 2 passengers, including the squirrel?
Shakes his tiny little spider fist at the corpse in front of him and scuttles across the top of the rampart or roof edge or whatever.
Yep.
And I'll go my full movement, so we're just like above this fight breaking out at the main doors now.
Do you mean you scurry sideways, like across the side of the tower?
Yeah. I don't.
Okay.
Well, what's the roof of the tower like? Like, what's the edge there?
Well, the tower continues to go up above you because the tower itself's 80 feet. These towers that you're on the edges of it are we're maybe using the word tower too much. The citadel itself continues to rise up. The tower's 30 feet up. So if you wanted to, you could attach to the wall of the citadel, stay on the same level, and scurry across. Is that what you meant? You wanted to do?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, cool. So
I don't have a web move at all, but in my mind, I do the thing that spiders do, and I just kind of like loop a few bits of web around Selby with my back leg as I'm running with my front six legs.
Yeah, cool.
And I will. I guess I can't. I've only got melee, so I'll use a dash.
Mhm.
And psychically ask Selby to indicate whether she wants to be still up high or maybe go down a bit closer. Actually, I'll go like across 10 feet and down like 15, 20 feet. So we're still pretty much out of range, but like a bit closer so that if Selby does fall, she doesn't die.
Gotcha. All right, I'll put you guys up on the higher level for the moment as you're, like 20 feet off the ground, 10 feet above the door, roughly, would you say?
Actually, I might see. Can I go near that tree so that if Selby wants to, she can jump off my back?
Okay, yeah.
No, the one. Sorry.
On the other side?
Yeah. Thank
you.
Perfect.
Cool. No stress as you scurry over to there. That will bring us to Selby. What would you like to do?
I'm feeling pretty cozy on my spider, so I'm just going to wriggle my arms free, and I'm going to pull out my little firebolts, like little wooden kind of button, and I'm going to cast Firebolt from where I am by pressing the button and the shock of electricity to try and go to the worst looking one out of these 3 friends that are surrounding Iris.
Yeah, this one over here. Make an attack roll.
18 plus 5, 23.
That'll definitely hit. Go for damage.
Awesome. I actually didn't even get the dice because I didn't think that would hit. 7. Lightning. No, fire. Sorry, fire. 7 fire damage.
Sorry, what was the total damage? 5 fire damage or 7 fire damage?
7 fire damage.
7. Sorry, when you were saying 5, you were saying fire, and I was hearing 5. That is all good. As the firebolt, what does it look like when you cast the spell?
It comes out of like a little kind of like box essentially that has like a little lid that I press a button on, and then just a little of fire. I thought it was electricity, but it's not. This one's fire.
Gotcha.
And it's just, like a little puff of, like a really tiny, cute fireball.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. It kind of like makes a sound as the fire comes out. That hits this Titan across the side of the chest, and they just collapse down into the snow, slain by the cute bolt of fire, taking them out.
Cool.
Cute.
Yeah. Can I somehow bonus action? I don't know if this spell. Can I somehow hide myself into the webbing on the back of my spider friend so that if they try to hit, they're less likely to hit me? I
mean, they can't target. They can't target both of you unless it's with a area of effect. If you want to make for me, this is make a deception check, and this is basically like how innocuous can you make yourself look on the back of the spider.
Does not Selby's strength. That is a 5.
Okay, cool. They look up, they see this crazy halfling riding a spider with a wild look in their eye, and they're like, man, that's gotta die. We cannot risk letting this halfling live.
Great. I'm so happy I did that.
Yeah, cool.
Good choices.
Iris.
Cool. Which of these was the one that I hit earlier?
The one that was killed by the firebolt just then.
Oh, okay, cool. So I am going to attack Orange Shield there.
Yep.
With a 18 to hit.
That will hit. Go for damage.
Damage. That is 9 damage.
Chill.
And then I'm going to action surge.
Yep.
And I am gonna attack the other one that's in front of me. With
Okay.
Cocked 7, 9 to hit, so that misses.
Yes, as you strike out at the both of them. First one cuts across the front of the Titan before they can get their shield up, and then as you go for the backhand kind of back slice, the other one catches it on their shield. Nevertheless, definitely keeping them both on their toes as you martially keep them at range. Any movement you want to do on your turn, or stand your ground?
Away is the skinny dude from me.
He is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25.
I use Thaumaturgy to cast Sleep on him.
I don't think you... No, so Thaumaturgy, sorry, I know what you're referring to as your racial trait.
Yeah.
Thaumaturgy is a cantrip, but it doesn't allow... Sleep's a full action, so because you've attacked
Gotcha.
this turn, you won't be able to cast it.
Sorry.
No, that's alright, that's totally fine. Cool. That will bring... Any movement, sorry?
No, I'm not going to move because I'll get opportunity attacks, so...
Correct, yeah. Alright, the skinny dude kind of seeing you run up to him. I say you and point at my screen as if you guys know who I'm pointing to. See Tacius run up to him, turns around, and don't say you and point at people. It's quite rude as well, just FYI. Anyway, he starts to run away, pulls open the door of the temple a little bit wider, and darts inside. He goes 5, 10... and I'll stop counting so you don't know necessarily how far he's going. Cool, and disappears inside. These two haven't really necessarily realized that yet, and continue to try to gang up onto Iris. The first attack is going to miss, and the second attack is going to hit. Doing... that's out of the tray. 9 points of slashing damage.
I'm going to use Protective Field, reduce it by 1d6 plus 1.
Okay, great.
So that's 5. It's been reduced to. So what was the total, sorry?
9, so it'd go down to 4.
Thank you.
What does it look like when that happens?
Iris just kind of closes her eyes for just a second, opens them, and then there's this blue sort of bubble about that far away from her.
Sure. Axe kind of pierces but bounces, absorbing some of the strike. Ending their turn, bringing us back to Tacius. What would you like to do?
Tacius is very much motivated by protecting others, so yes, the tactical thing would be to go after the guy running away, but no, he's going to flank one of the other guys with Iris.
Cool. You get to there, just an FYI, I don't use the flanking rules specifically, only because I find A, combat becomes all about it, and B, it kind of devalues rules like pack tactics and things like that. But nevertheless, you do get up behind this person. They'll both be subject to your lightning aura, so is that dex saves for both of them?
Yes, it is.
Cool. Both of those succeed.
Okay. Actually, no, it's only one creature of my choice. Sorry, not an AoE.
Okay, cool.
Only one of them.
Cool, that's no
so
stress.
That's 4 points reduced to
Which one would you prefer to aim at?
Whichever one's looking the most hurt.
Okay, cool. That would be Brown Shield at the top. Taking that as the lightning arcs and strikes them from the side.
I'm going to try and whack the other one with my greatsword.
Cool. Make an attack action.
That's not
Or
really
roll a
effective.
dice, make an attack.
13 to hit.
13 does not hit, unfortunately. As you run up behind and lightning strikes his friend, this Titan turns just in time and is able to catch kind of the blow against the shield, splintering parts of the center of the shield, but nevertheless it holds its structure.
That's everything for me.
Cool. That will bring us to Druid in spider form, about 20 feet off the ground.
So the same 2 back legs, I'm just going to delicately hang Selby from a branch and then jump on the back of the one that everyone's trying to hit at the top.
Okay, yeah, cool, no stress. As you come down to the ground, let me move you to the ground level. And run up and attack. Let's go. I think you mean Brown Shield.
Yeah,
the one that's taken damage. Yep, cool. Make an attack roll for me.
21.
Yeah! It doesn't hit. No, I'm just kidding. Go for damage.
So they have to take a Constitution saving throw while I roll this. 1d6.
Poison.
What's the DC?
4 damage, 11 DC.
Okay, they succeed the save. 4 damage reduces them to that, and then what's the total poison?
They take half on a thing.
Yep.
So they take another 2 damage. That's already halved.
Okay, cool. No stress.
Poison.
They're looking real rough right now. They kind of double forward and over the poison as it injects. What sort of does it have like an appearance when the poison starts to take effect? What effect does it have on the Titan body?
Just go the cool old black veins start to spiderweb up the leg that I assumed that I bit. I'm like, aha! Don't bite the armor, and I bite the leg.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no stress. That is a 21's worth of leg that you bite into, and they are looking really rough right now. They do not look like they've got much fight left in them. Bringing us to Selby, hanging off the branch or in the tree as Druid went by.
Perfect. As a moment of self-accusation, she realized she had a healing potion that Tack gave her that she just totally didn't register. Is that a bonus action to do? What's the house rule?
No, it would be an action to drink the health potion.
Oh man, I really want to kill Steel again though. Yeah, I'm in a tree. I'm fine. I'm going to cast Firebolts at the one that Druid just bit.
Mm-hmm.
Again. 7.
Not enough to kill Steel, unfortunately, as I imagine Selby kind of looks for the healing potion and then gets kind of excited, oh, wait. Like you go onto your phone to try to get a cute photo of your cat before they move.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the firebolt goes wide.
Alas. I'm going to stay in the tree, though. I kind of like this distance thing that I've got going on.
Cool, no problem.
Yeah, bonus action. No bonus action. I'm going to hold on to my last inspiration for now.
Gotcha. Bringing so that was Selby. Iris.
Seeing Brown Shield dude looking worse for wear, I'm gonna go for him again.
Yep. Make an attack roll. This is the one that's above you to the north.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's 16 to hit.
That will hit. Go for damage.
9 damage.
Okay, cool. I'm on the wrong level, that's why I can't click on them. That definitely damages them. How would you like to kill them? Or if you want to kill them, I suppose.
Oh yeah, this one's... Yeah, he's going down. I am going to pull up my longsword. I'm going to get it at shoulder height, and I'm just going to whack away at one of his legs.
Okay, cool. It cleanly comes out from under them, and they collapse backwards. into the snow and are slain functionally by the attack as they bleed out. Anything else you wish to do on your turn?
I'm gonna take, still holding my sword at the one that's fallen. I'm gonna look up at his friend and just go, now it's your turn. And I'm gonna use, I have telekinetic movement. I want to pick up a tiny stone behind him and bring it to my hand. If it's a tiny object, then I can bring it to my hand. But I want to bring it to my hand through his head.
Okay, cool. This still requires an action for you to be able to do it, so you couldn't do it on the same turn that you've cuts down the other dude.
All right. I'll just glare menacingly at him then.
Okay, cool. No problem.
Damn it.
You glare menacingly at this guy. I mean, we could even imagine that the rock is starting to kind of tremble on the ground behind him. He, however, starts to read the writing on the wall, looks around him, realizes he's the only one there with a giant spider and a crazed halfling up a tree, and knows that like his days are numbered. And he sort of like stops fighting, holds his shield in front of his chest kind of protectively, and holds out his battle axe, and then kind of like in a mic drop motion, drops his axe on the ground, which is basically Titan for yield, and he's going to step back. He doesn't disengage, so it's up to you guys whether you want to make attacks of opportunity against him or not.
The spider will.
You ironically, you will be the only one not in range to do so.
Tiny thing.
You know what? Takius is raging, so he's probably not, he's not good at thinking to begin with, so he would probably make an attack of opportunity.
Okay, make an attack roll.
Where's my dice gone? That is a natural 1.
Okay, cool. Cool. As you make that attack against this guy, he just turns his body towards you, hits the shield once again, kind of like pushes him back with the force of it, and he steps back and just like gestures out and goes, "You may enter. You may enter." As if trying to like, you know, shift your attention away from him and towards the entrance into the citadel. What do you wish to do as a party? At this point, we could drop initiative order if you decide not to pursue this guy, but it's up to you what you wish to do.
Gesture to tack and go, no more, no more. We just need to get inside.
Having heard that, Tuck will come to his senses and the rage will drop.
Sure.
Which
No
means
problem.
some more drops as well.
I'll climb up the tree and grab get something.
Dig. Terrifying.
Yeah, I'm so glad I don't have arachnophobia.
Yeah,
Or
right.
if I did, I don't anymore.
That's
do-
me right now.
I do frequently have to ask players, and it's perfectly reasonable, but ask them like, does anybody have arachnophobia? Should I change this dungeon? Should I change what's in this room? It's snakes. It's all snakes now. You regroup, and then my assumption, tell me if this is an incorrect assumption, is that you wish to proceed inside the temple.
Yes, I wish to drink my healing potion, or Tack's healing potion first, though.
Yes, you absolutely can.
But
And at some point along the line, I made Selby half the size of everyone else.
not far
Not
off.
incorrect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's true. As you enter inside of the temple, I'm assuming the warrior's kind of going first, Spider bringing up the midsection with Selby in the rear. Tell me if that's incorrect.
I'll stay in spider form and hang up in on the roof and in the corners and kind of
Cool.
not be part of the party just in case another ambush needs to happen.
Okay, no stress. As you proceed around the hall, you can see that it kind of, it's a corridor that goes in each direction. You can see doors at the end of the corridors at an angle that most probably lead into the watchtowers on either side. And then corridors that kind of arch away northwards around as if they're kind of like circumventing the outside of the temple. Which direction do you wish to move in?
I'm gonna put my head out the door and yell to the Titan that we just left. Which way do we go?
He's just kind of gestures you to go to the east.
Right. Go that way, apparently.
Well, just friends, before we go any further, I could possibly heal someone? Does anyone have any serious, great, awesome? I cast Cure Wounds on Iris. So it's a D8 plus 2.
And 9 is the number for tonight. Thank you.
Perfect. Cool. You proceed around the outside of the hall, kind of northwards, again, that side door leading into the tower. If you take a peek inside, you can see that it's filled with, like, basically weapons. It looks like a weapons storeroom. Proceeding northwards, find another room on the north side. Are you guys peeking into these, I suppose, or do you wish to just kind of move around and look for a more central chamber there where you might find Craw and where that other guy fled to?
I think that we're looking for Craw, and he's not going to be in one of the watchtowers necessarily.
Cool, no stress. Eventually, you come around the corner and find yourselves looking into a very large chamber. So let me just bring everyone else around, assuming that Drew Weed is on the roof around here. And as you come around, you see yourself looking into a relatively large chamber that definitely looks like a central chamber, although it doesn't necessarily look like a throne room, so to speak. The heavy set timber doors currently are opening down into a set of stone steps that sink into the chamber, and warmth kind of billows out, as well as the smell of salt from cooking meats. You can see that there are torches lit in sconces around the edges of the room. There are hunting trophies and furs hanging from the walls of the chamber. And you can see that it kind of looks like they're squatting in here more than anything at the moment, just because there's bedrolls laid out, and there's like crates and chairs and things that have been dragged into here. In the center of the chamber is this large stone platform that kind of has steps that step up to it, and standing on it is a very large titan. This guy's like 9 and a bit feet tall, has these horns that initially you might think are part of his helmet, but no, they're 100% part of his head that kind of erupt forward and rake backwards. Craw almost appears like he's half a step on the evolutionary track back towards Yothnar, back towards Frost Giant. And he looks quite unhappy. The weaselly-looking titan stands off to the side, leaning against part of a stone plinth, watching you guys, but looking like you can actually see that he's bleeding out the top of his head as if he's taken a hit. And 3 other titan bodyguards kind of stand around the edges of the room, much similar to the ones that you recently fought. The final person in this chamber or creature, you kind of mistake at first maybe for a crouched animal or wolf at Craw's side, just behind his leg. But they have humanoid hands. And as the wolf head tilts backwards so that the titan underneath can kind of peer out at you, you note that it's just a titan wearing a wolf pelt with a very low kind of pulled hood, the snout of the wolf mainly peering towards you. They look like they have tattoos that go up their hands and arms, but crouch on the ground, much like an animal, like I said. And as you guys enter the room, you can hear sort of snuffling noises sort of coming from that individual. Craw opens a hand and says, "Welcome to my hall. It seems I have guests that have conquered their way through my doors. How is it I may help you this evening?"
This is good. He's up for conversation. Okay. I'm gonna poke out from around the side and be like, "Hello. We come with gifts and to have a discussion." I have no weapons anyway, so I have my hands up and so does Nuts. Yeah.
What is it you wish for? Perhaps we can come to an arrangement.
This sounds fabulous. Just as a side note, the people who greeted us were quite rude. Like, I don't really like to be that person with negative feedback straight away, but I just want to let you know that from where I come from, we don't usually greet people by attacking them. But we've moved past that. That's, in the past. We are looking for you to just open up and, share what, the fresh water and foodstuffs you have with that local village that's, with Hillcult that's got attacked. That was horrible.
Wolf. And the woman looks up at him and then kind of like crawls along the ground, much like an animal or someone pretending to be an animal towards you. And as she gets in front of you, she pulls out from inside of her cloak a long bone, kind of like needle, and holds out a hand from either, I suppose, Tacius or Selby standing at the front.
Probably seeing this creature person approaching Selby, Tacius would probably step sort of almost, not quite in front of her, but clearly defensively, trying to sort of like intercept, and he's got his greatsword by his side, so he'll hold out his hand to this woman.
Quickly, Drew will come around the doorway in a really creepy way and like not jump down, but like very carefully, each hand at a time, come down and then crouch next to them. And I want to perceive this wise woman, shaman-looking person.
As in you want to insight her, or you just want to be able to have a view of her?
Just like, yeah, I'm interested that she's popped her head out, so I'm definitely watching closely whatever she does. Okay.
Quick as a snake bite, she uses this little tool to sort of prick the center of Tacius's hand deep enough to draw blood, and then very quickly kind of leans up and licks the blood off your hand as it wells up. Lets go of your hand and kind of like sits on the ground for a moment, begins to sniff across the ground. And you can see her kind of like looking up and around, and she begins to almost like vague out. And she says vague words in Giant. What? No. Change. And all anybody's hearing who can't speak Giant is you, Druid, can see she's clearly casting a spell. It's not aggressive. It's not cast at the party, so to speak. But it seems to be some sort of almost augury as she asks a question in Giant. Not all perfectly phrased, but like, if battle be met, victorious shall we be. And then Craw kind of watches this. He says, I have an offer to make. You wish for fresh water. I can provide it to you. I'll provide it to the others like your ilk. But I have a request.
Yeah.
Find the creature called Logi. Drive him from this village. Tell him I will do it only if he leaves.
So just to be clear, he just needs to leave, like, alive?
They all like look around, like Craw looks around, the other Titans look at each other, look back at you, says, I find this acceptable. Looks down at the wolf, and the wolf looks up at him and yes, yeah, and just like shakes her head. And Craw looks back up at you and kind of gestures, and all the Titans take their hands off their weapons. Indeed. Tell him I will make this pact with him. If he leaves town immediately, I will provide water before the sun sets.
That's amazing. Do you mind? Can I just write that? If I just put that in writing, could you just sign off on that? Where I come from, we like to make sure that things are, kind of on the level. You do not trust my word. No, that's fine. It was just an option. Don't want to do it, that's fine. No stress. Cultures are different. That's what I've learnt. Great.
Kind of steps forward slightly, he says, I know in the Empire, you make games of deceiving each other and manipulating. In the Rangers, we speak straight. I will provide you the water when you come back with news of Logi's departure.
Great. Then that sounds great. And just in the honesty of being straight, then again, just really rude to not greet people warmly at the door. There we go. See, we're all being straight with each other. Let's go, team. Great success.
Some may consider it rude, as you kind of file out, to enter somebody's house without invitation. And as you walk out, you just also hear him say, go with them. Make sure it happens. And two Titans file out of the room and follow you guys back to the town square.
Did he say that in common?
No, he would have said that in Giant. You can see that they're following you pretty plainly, but
Right.
they're not they're not hunting or stalking you. They just kind of, keeping a bit of a distance as they stroll behind you. Presenting this offer to Logi, he stands up. The other two Titans who have followed you keep their distance, like, well away from Logi. Well back behind you guys, to the point where, like, you turn, are they still following us? And then you see them kind of at the very entrance of the town square. What do you guys say to Logi as you approach him and he asks for news?
Well, I don't really know how to... This isn't a particularly polite thing to say. But in nobility, we call it a sacrifice. So what they have asked is that King Craw has just said, if you can just leave, just go make a new home somewhere else, anywhere else that you choose, then they will, openly back up and trade with the town. I know that's like a horrible thing to ask you to leave, and I'd hate to think, myself if that was asked of me, but sometimes we just have to sacrifice for the greater good. If you don't mind, please.
No, of course.
It's not us asking as well. I just want to be very clear. Like, none of us are asking for you to leave. I just want to make that point slightly clear.
Craw has never enjoyed my company, and the wolf has hated me since childbirth. I am not surprised at this request. He wishes for me to die in exile, out in the snow. He knows I have no supplies to make it back down south of the mountains. But nevertheless, if this is the agreement that you have made with him, I will honor it. I have survived worse situations. Perhaps we shall meet again one day.
Absolutely, and please just focus on that, the survival. I'm sure you'll be fine. Is there anything we can give you before you go to help? I have nothing of value on my personal person, but I looked at the rest of the party. We have anything we can give?
Looking at the distance that's being kept and what Fire Triton has said, and it's like, there's a story here. Why did they hate you? Why are you so different from them? Why did they want you gone?
He turns his head to look at you. He says, the differences between us are not so apparent. And then as he holds his hands out, smoke begins to rise from his forearms and his palms, quite black. He says, I am, as my people say, kissed by the dragon, gifted by the dragon. It is a burden that I have shouldered since childbirth. But the wolf, when I was born, called it a curse, claimed that I would burn the world to ashes, and that my birth was an ill omen. Many have attempted to kill me in the past. It is why I left Hill Cult originally. I came back here hoping to find peace and reconcile my past. Instead, it seems I am still not welcome, for the wolf holds power here, and Craw sees me as a rival. No matter. I will move on.
Awesome. Thank you, I guess. And Selby's going to try and create, using my magical tinker, I'm going to make like a little snow globe with like snow from Hukult, and like it just kind of looks like it's constantly snowing in it, and plays like just background music, like a snow globe of Hukult as like a memento kind of thing. I know this isn't really of actual any value, and you're probably less about the aesthetics here in the ranges, but we really appreciate it. And if you can get in touch with us and you need our help, we will be there as soon as we can.
I appreciate it. He kind of takes the snow globe, looks at it for a few seconds, and then just, still carrying it, begins to walk away towards the other two titans. I wish you luck in your search for your mythical vault. May it bring you some semblance of happiness. And he walks up to the other two titans. They separate, give him a wide berth as he steps between them, looks from one to the other, and then begins to make his way south towards the exit of the village. And those two titans kind of follow, but at a distance.
Drew runs up, still in spider form, but he's like, and he's like, and comes back up. He's, my friend, if you happen to find some mistletoe in your travels, I will be able to provide sustenance to the village for many days. If you keep an eye on things, catch my drift. Wink.
He sort of like looks at you for a few moments. He's like not a person of subtlety at all. Not that he didn't understand what you said, but like the wink as he just like stares back at you. He nods, he says, I do not think it wise for me to return here. And he like very deliberately looks at the two titans, between them, standing on either side of him, but then says, but if we cross paths, you should be able to find mistletoe out in the forest to the west. It grows there naturally.
He says in giant, does the whole like big man arm clasp thingy.
Cool. When you clasp arms, the thing you notice, which probably doesn't surprise Druid at this point, is that he is hot to the touch, especially given the cold surrounds. Then he bows kind of his head and turns and walks out of the village, leaving sort of little puddled footsteps as he goes. As he walks away, Juniper approaches, and she's like flicking through her book. And as she walks up to you, she, like, without even asking how your day was, says the monument in the center of town. It's a waymarker. It tells stories about ravens, and ravens being messengers in mythology of the Titans, ill portents in the Empire. But here they just see them as messengers of the gods, and so the engravings on the outside. I'm sorry that I don't want to bore you with the details, but it's a waymarker. That obsidian shard in the center of town points the way. It's pointing west. I believe if we follow it, we might find our next ruin, clue, something. Something is out there in that direction. We should explore the forest imminently. Will you follow me?
I understood, like, mostly none of those words except for follow me, and I'll always follow you anywhere, Juniper.
First, maybe food?
Yes, I'm getting ahead of myself. Frothnir, I met him earlier in the hall. He shall provide us with something.
I think I might have something in my pack to make that soup that he made a little more tasty until we get better supplies.
Excellent, excellent. Come, I'll tell you all that I've discovered. And she sort of turns back towards the town hall, and as you guys follow her in her pace, the camera pans up towards the horizon, the great mountains shrouded in mist that surround Hillcult, and that is where we shall leave our adventure for today. Thank you so much for playing, guys. I look forward to playing again next week. Those that are watching on the stream, thank you so much for watching along. I hope you had fun and enjoyed it as much as we did. We will be back next Sunday playing the next part of the adventure to see what happens in the forest. And if you guys did enjoy this adventure, keep in mind, Vault of the Living Flame will be a published adventure at the end of the convention, so you will be able to pick that up either through the Arkenforge Toolkit or in PDF form through the Quest Suppliers. We appreciate you watching along, and we will see you all next Sunday for part 2 of Vault of the Living Flame.
Thanks, Ben.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.